Okay, it is time for Street Talk this week. It, bit of a sombre tone to the street this week, wasn't it? It was somewhat melancholic in Weatherfield. Sad times, yeah?
Sad times.
It was a little bit. We'll try and bring a bit of levity in our discussion to it, but there's some serious issues in this week's Coronation Street.
Is Danny going to die?
Is Danny going to die?
When is Danny going to die?
Yeah, I want him to die just so that we can have Danny Dyer as a storyline title, quite frankly. Before that, though, of course, it wouldn't be Street Talk 2025 without some clickbaity headlines for Gemma to try and guess what is going on here. So I scoured the internet this week and I found 3. Gemma, here we go. This is from the Metro, from the good folks at the Metro. Coronation Street legend. Legend.
Yeah, legend.
Addresses cuts to soap ahead of massive changes. So this is a Coronation Street legend talking about the fact that there were going to be cuts to the episodes. I'll give you that bit. Ahead of massive changes.
Massive changes is that it was not on Friday.
Who is the Coronation
Is that right?
Street? What? No. The next year it's going down to 5
Who's the
half
Corrie
hour.
legend?
Who's the Corrie legend? And what did she say about these?
You gave it away.
Oh, I did, didn't I? It's a lady. Give me a Corrie legend.
Is it going to be someone who you're going to disparage?
I'm going to give you 3 guesses.
I don't have any idea at all.
Give me.
No
it's
idea.
It's a lady. Give me 3 Corrie ladies.
Who are legends?
Yep.
According
to the Metro.
Barbara Knox.
No.
Sally Ann Matthews.
No. Was Claire Sweeney. Sweeney, Corrie legend.
Yeah.
What did she have to say about the episode cuts next week to warrant this
next
year? To warrant this headline that she addresses them.
Coronation Street. Oh, she was in that show, and she said, we're going to be on 5 episodes. 5. It's going to be 5.
So her episodes were just her addressing it was just to do with it's happening 5 times. It was almost as dull as that. The exact quote is, "I don't know much about the cuts or what's going on." So there we go. That's her addressing them. Excellent headline there, Metro. Belfast Live next. Coronation Street star shares little known Rolls-Royce fact after legend confronted bosses.
Right, it's all fake food.
No, it's not to do with that, no.
The price of a curry hasn't changed.
No. Okay, so this is the little known Roy's Roll fact was to do with the name of Roy's Rolls.
What? That it's got an apostrophe missing.
No. This is actually to do with who came up with the name of Roy's Rolls, which is actually David Nilsson himself. I didn't know this. That's a pretty cool fact, isn't it?
So he stormed in there and said, "I want you to address this in the Coronation Street exhibition."
No.
My contribution to the show will not go unnoticed.
No, apparently what it was they were planning to call it just Roy's Calf, and they couldn't think of a creative punny title for themselves, a punny name for themselves, and David Nilsson just went to the bosses and said, "You should just call it Roy's Rolls," and they were like, "Bloody good idea that is, Dave, thank you very much." So that's what that was about. Last one, Gemma, Manchester Evening News. Come on, get this one. Coronation Street.
Don't have a go at me.
Coronation Street fans realise mistake.
Yeah.
This is about this week's episodes.
Yeah, okay.
As they admit shame over character return amid emotional scenes. So lots of words there in the Manchester Evening News.
Is it to do with Jason?
No.
Is it to do with James?
Somewhat.
Like, isn't it a shame that Danny's dying?
No.
Mistake.
So it's...
You don't give me any clues.
I know, it's more fun to guess. You don't give me clues for the quiz that you give me.
Yeah,
so this is to do with the Dee-Dee storyline.
It's not fun if I have no idea.
These are the emotional scenes. So there's something that's a shame about a character return, and it's a mistake.
I know. It's because Lena Lordlow... she's laying low.
Exactly it.
She's not come back as Aggie.
Yes.
And everyone's like, where's her mum? That's a shame.
That is exactly what it is.
What a
exactly.
mistake that
People
is.
are saying, "Where's Aggie? Why hasn't Aggie been in Coronation Street this week?"
The glaring point here is that they can recast James. Why can't they recast Aggie?
I sometimes think it's harder to cast the parents in a family. I don't know whether it's just more what we're used to, but we're used to kids being recast all the time. And I know James isn't a kid anymore. He is 30 or so at this point. But it feels like Lorna has had such a presence and she had such a iconic look to her after only a couple of years. I don't know whether it would go down quite as well. I don't think anybody was saying, "No, we want Nathan Graham back playing James." But I think that if somebody was recast in the role of Aggie,
people would kick up.
People would say, that's not Aggie.
I also don't... I don't know what's going on there.
No, exactly. I mean, she was on that other
yeah.
podcast recently, wasn't she? And kind of skirted the issue a little bit about what happened when she left Coronation Street. It is very odd that, you know, if you think about it, if you have the idea put in your head, and sorry, listeners, if we're doing this now for the first time this week, you do think, yeah, Aggie really should be there, shouldn't she?
Yeah,
just because she had a fallout with Ed over money, that's not going to stop her being by her daughter's bedside when she's got preeclampsia. She's having a baby and also, you know, getting a hysterectomy.
Well, also,
she's busy.
She's having to resort to hang out with Alia and Sarah.
Yeah, I know. She needs some girl pals.
Unfair.
No, Sarah's not so bad. I wouldn't mind. Alia's fine. She's a calming presence, isn't she? That's what you can say about Alia. Nothing overexciting about her. But I would love Aggie to come back for this, and it is utterly nuts. They haven't actually said.
They haven't talked about her at all.
Oh, Aggie's she's on holiday at the moment. She's gone on a round the world cruise. Don't know when she's coming back.
They haven't got any
phones.
Chances. Or like she was in the waiting room. I just saw her.
That's the thing. Could that work?
It's quite funny to imagine that they could literally be characters that you just never see, like Fat Brenda, who we'll never have again because it's because of the woke
You're not allowed
brigade.
to call her Fat Brenda, Gemma. I'm sorry.
To call her Bigly
You're going to get us flagged up for that. I think did they do it with Ryan? I'm sure there was one point in Ryan's story a couple of years ago when he had the acid to the mush that they said that Michelle had come and visited him. Or maybe it was just that he visited her. I don't know. But I think I'd almost accept that more if they said, oh, you just missed your mum. Or, mum spent the morning with me, but now she's gone back down to Birmingham or wherever it is she is.
To rat-infested Birmingham.
Yes, that is in the news at the moment as well. Would you prefer
I'm not being rude about Birmingham.
That's
literally
the headlines that Birmingham is a little bit littery at the moment. Yeah. Would you prefer, do you think, to
I wonder whether they're just saving it so that Dee-Dee can go, you know what, I've had too much of a story again, I'm going to stay with my mum.
She could do. I mean, Shanique hasn't had loads to do so far this year, has she?
Because
she's been catapulted headfirst into this major drama, but she has had a good few months off.
Too much time talking about this, but, you know, I think Dee-Dee is, I think that, what's the name?
What?
What's the name?
Shanique Sterling
No,
Brown?
The mum.
Aggie?
Right, Aggie.
We just
went out of my
talking
head.
about it for minutes.
Aggie is not the sort of character who would be like, oh, that's not my problem.
No, she would totally be there. She didn't get the Weatherfield Golden Heart for nothing, did she? They're going to be there for her granddaughter's birth.
And also her poor child.
Yeah.
I think loads of mums...
And she's a nurse. Maybe she just thinks, I'm not going to be able to help myself from rolling up my sleeves and getting stuck in if I turn up there.
Maybe they didn't put her in because it would have complicated the story a bit. Because, you know, a lot of it was like, we can't help being racist, we're busy.
Yeah, I just don't know. There's obviously very clear reasons why Aggie isn't here, but from a narrative point of view, in universe, there is no reason, and I don't think any reason has been offered up to us to explain it. I can't think of any reason. I seriously, unless it was a silly round the world cruise thing. But would she do that if she knew that?
Why are you so specific about?
Okay,
being on
to the moon and back.
She's going on that. Isn't there going to be an Amazon Jeff Bezos?
Maybe she's gone to Mars.
Maybe she's gone ahead.
Yeah.
To get the Bailey house ready.
Maybe she has.
Right.
But yeah, you would have thought she might wait until after the baby is born to do that. So even then, that doesn't really make sense. Although, is the baby born early? I can't remember whether they said. Is it a preemie?
It was unexpected.
Yeah, it was unexpected. It feels like it doesn't feel long that we've known that Dee-Dee is pregnant, because Joel died in November, didn't he? And it's been since then that Dee-Dee's known. And then, as I say, she's not really been in it a whole lot in 2025. So she still, to me, feels very recently pregnant. But I don't know. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. We are going to talk about that storyline first. And my storyline title for that is The Big Dee-Dee Decision. Because she got one this week, hasn't she? Does she give that little baby away?
She's made a decision.
Okay. We are then going to follow up with the Grease Monkey Nuts story. And there was misery all around there, really, wasn't there, with old Kevin? I think we've also probably got some Debbie stuff in there as well. I think that's where I've put that one. Right, I quite like this one. So the story. Oh, thank you. The story for Christina and Daisy tricking our Jen, the Jenny Connors, because they're proper conning her, aren't they?
That could be their quiz team name, their pub team.
If they got into a pub team and Jenny's got no idea, pub quiz team, and they had no idea, they could say, "Oh yeah, we'll call us the Jenny Connors," and Jen would think, "Yeah, thanks, you're naming it after me." But
they think you're both great.
Actually,
they both think you're great.
We had the grand return of the revenge storyline this week. People thought they'd forgotten about it. That silver van of Mick's, and is Chesney ever going to find out about it? At last this week he did. Nothing really happened with it, to be fair, but at least we're slowly crawling forwards there. There was a little bit more of my favourite story of last week. Todd gives the nod to the god with the bod. Complicated stuff going on there. A few theories going around. And then finally there was, I think on Monday, a couple of scenes in the Skank and the Plank storyline.
What's that one?
That's Cassie and Steve, isn't it? That's their shipping though.
Oh, Skank and the Plank.
Yeah. I think it's probably a better idea if Gemma takes the big Dee-Dee decision storyline for synopsising, because if I said to her earlier that if I did it, then I'd probably be getting glared at for saying inappropriate or flippant things.
All right.
But I will
take
it
Let me do it then.
Seriously. What's been going on this week?
Monday, Dee-Dee and Lauren are there because Frankie's going to get his transplant.
Oh, yeah. More drama.
Lauren's
that
worrying
turns out fine, doesn't it?
About whether he's going to reject it, and Dee-Dee is having more pains, and Lauren says, "Look, we should get you checked out." So she gets a bed in the hospital, and the nurse is asking her about these pains and says that it's probably just Braxton Hicks again. Go home and have some scented candles. Mm. So Dee-Dee is looking over at a mum and a doting father and looking a bit upset because she's alone. And also it seems like they're very overworked there.
Yes, I'm going to say it, very clunkily
this was
added
so
ham-fistedly. I get what they're doing, because this is turned into another Issuesy storyline of, it's not the poor NHS, they're overworked necessarily.
I don't agree. I think this was a good idea to combine these two.
It felt unnecessary. There was enough drama in this story without the added complication.
It feels like
Dee-Dee has a rough time in the hospital.
It feels very much like the tram driver has to try the brakes.
Oh yeah, the tram crash, exactly.
Because
gotta show it.
Just to remind everybody, whoever it is, the Manchester network people were like, you cannot have a tram unless you make it so that the tram driver, it's not his fault that there was a tram crash. Same way as like Apple, you can't have in a movie, the villain will never have an Apple phone. Maybe here they are trying to make it seem as though the NHS is overworked and kind of softening the blow of criticising it, because I've seen lots of people unhappy at the way that the NHS is being portrayed here, and I could totally sympathise with that.
Oh, I absolutely sympathise with
You're not racist because you're busy.
No.
That's not why.
But even take away the racist parts.
Well, that's the whole point. That's the whole issue of the story, isn't it?
No, I know, but that's what I said. The first time that we got an inkling that there's going to be an issue to discuss here, it was just these two nurses. You never get two nurses just having a conversation together at the side of the room. So they go into their little side bit, don't they? And go, oh, it's really busy in here today, isn't it? Oh, yeah, it really, really is busy. The dialogue was better than that, but only...
Where are those agency nurses?
That was it. Where are the agency nurses? And it's just like, okay, you're going to tell us about this, are you?
You're busy, okay.
Yeah, but then you're right, the racism part comes into it later.
It's just muddying the waters a little bit, and I don't know, they're putting a bit of plausible deniability in there. For example, where one of the nurses says to Dee-Dee, oh, women like you are built like this. What does she mean? You can take that many different ways. If you're black, you're going to immediately recognise a microaggression there. Oh,
for sure.
The plausible deniability is she could have meant you're very sturdy or you're very young,
Yeah.
If it was a white woman, you would assume that that's what she meant. I probably would have been like, oh, yeah, I know I'm fat. Thanks very much.
It came across, I'll tell you what it came across like, and maybe it came across like the play the white man thing, which was when Paul Kershaw said it, and we were listening to it saying, people don't say that anymore, as far as we know.
I think that's really regional.
Maybe it is, but it just felt like inserted into the dialogue, but in a really ham-fisted way, and this did as well.
What you're trying to say is, or what you're saying,
tell me what I'm trying to say.
No,
I
what
think
you're
that's
saying
important.
is that there are definitely more overt ways of demonstrating racism than Coronation Street did.
Yes.
So the play the white man thing, if you wanted somebody to be racist, there are so many other things. Like, we even had it with when the Baileys were in that, he finished building the bistro and the guy was making horrible comments.
Oh, yeah.
That was way more overt.
Done, yeah.
If you wanted to be completely... The thing is about it, though, Michael, is that the medical racism that Dee-Dee's experiencing is not the same kind of thing as they were exploring with with Paul's storyline.
No.
Paul, the firefighter. Because it's more of a medically based ignorance or stereotyping. And it happens to women of all colours, but it happens more to black women.
Yeah, and I honestly, I didn't know about this, so I am actually interested. And it is horrific that this happens. I think it's terrible that you were telling me a little bit about it, and I was doing a bit of reading myself about it, that this goes on. And in that way, is it good that Coronation Street has raised the issue and educated me a little bit about it? Yes, but I still stick with, I don't think this was necessarily the right time for it to come into the story, because there was already so much tragedy and trauma going on. It kind of, they were competing for what are we supposed to be getting most upset about.
Oh no, I think there's no bad time to address something like this. And also, it's not just a case of someone was mean to me in hospital, okay? She's at her most vulnerable. She nearly died. Women die. Black women die in this country and in other countries because of racism in hospital. And it's a fact. And I know people hate it.
And a lot of it is unconscious racism as well. I think that's important to say. Some of it, well, I mean, obviously not all of it is. But
okay, so I can only speak to my own experiences because I've had bad experiences in hospitals where I've had to have a specifically female process or procedure done on me, and I wasn't given any pain relief, and I was screaming in pain. And I'm the sort of person who would never even, like, if you stood on my foot, I probably wouldn't say anything. But I was screaming in pain because it hurt so much. And the doctor's reaction was to say, next time you should have a glass of wine before you come in.
Yes, I remember that, actually.
And also he insinuated that it was my fault because I hadn't had any children, and he told me that it would be easier if I had a child for them to do this procedure. I've also had another doctor tell me that I should have children because it would make something easier for me. And, and so I've seen other women also saying online, other white women saying, I've had this experience, I've had that experience. It's not racism, it's misogyny. I wish that people would listen to what black women say when they say it is both. Because I sit there and say, if that happened to me, I cannot imagine what it is like for you, because it's the added layer of racism on the top.
Yeah. Because
black women are often thought to have higher pain thresholds than white women. I just don't understand the logic, because, this procedure that I had done, I'm not going to go into it because it's really personal, but it's been documented that it causes pain on a threshold of 1 to 10 as 10. In some women, not in all women though. So, but when a woman tells you that she's in pain, she's not lying. I've heard women who've had the same thing be told by their doctor, oh, there's no pain receptors, so you couldn't have felt anything. What do you think I'm saying? I'm a human being. I can feel pain. When I'm telling you I'm in pain, you have to listen to me. But they don't. They don't listen to women, and they don't especially listen to black women.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
And
you're right.
I think maybe
I'm coming across as being, as I say, a bit flippant about it. But
no,
I do think it's important.
It's disgusting.
I just think that the way that it was delivered, it could have been written in a more sensitive or better or less kind of waving a leaflet at you kind of way, or
It's just women aren't believed in general. Our biology is not understood or studied properly in any situation. It wasn't until a few years ago they even used female test crash dummies to find out whether cars were dangerous. Women die more often in car crashes because the cars and the seatbelts are not designed for our physiology. So I don't understand how you can not realise that hospitals are really bad. And I'm sorry, I know that the NHS and doctors and nurses are really try their best and they go into it to help people. But I'm also going to tell you that doctors have told me to my face or acted like I was being irrational or hysterical because I was in physical extreme pain. So and they knew it could happen and they didn't tell me. That's the other thing.
So did you find yourself...
They just act like it's a big burden.
I know it wasn't, this is a baby born birth
storyline.
Did you find yourself relating quite a lot to some of what Dee-Dee was going through this
Yes, I did. Even though I've not been in this situation, but I've been treated like an idiot or like I don't understand my own body by people and patronised. I think this is a really important story to tell. I think women die because it happens, and that's a fact that women die because this happens. I don't know what the solution is apart from educating people and making them understand. But the thing is so frustrating to see that one of the first steps that needs to be taken to address this issue is for people to believe it happens, and they still don't. People online I've seen going, oh, well, so what? It doesn't really happen. It's not true. You're just disparaging doctors and nurses. I'm sorry, but it happens.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously believe it happens, and I've been doing some reading up about it and talking to you about it, and it's awful that it happened. So, and maybe even if it didn't hit the right notes completely for me, maybe it is good that they put it in there just to raise awareness of something that I literally had no idea about.
It's just really disheartening to know that there is still the stereotype about, oh, black women don't feel pain as much, or or they can withstand more pain, or it's just really disgusting, honestly, and it's because there's not enough research done. But the other really horrible tragic thing is that a lot of the gynecological information that we have to work on was done on enslaved women, black women. They paid for that with their blood. Although, and all this research was done on them, like human experiments, and they still do not treat them. They still don't know how to treat them like humans. It's disgusting. It's honestly, I felt so bad for Dee-Dee because she you can see the moment when she starts to wonder, are they not listening to me? Because, I think I also felt kind of a kinship to her because I feel like well-spoken and educated. And when I go to a doctor or a medical professional, I expect them to treat me with a certain level of respect and intelligence that they can when I tell them something, I'm not making it up. No, I'm not trying to get drugs or making something up. I'm being a reasonable person. And so she's sitting there and she's used to people taking her seriously. Yeah. But suddenly she's been taken from this high-flying lawyer who wins Rising Star Awards to just, a piece of meat who they ignore because they don't think she understands her own body. There was also... And I know that also it must be really tough because there are loads of women who are terrified and they just need to be reassured. And I don't know where you draw the line between I just need to tell her she's okay and she'll be all right to actually know there is something terribly wrong here, because having a baby is traumatic as it is.
Yeah, I think that the scene that has stuck with me particularly this week was the one where the nurse was trying to give Laila to Dee-Dee to breastfeed, and she wouldn't take no for an answer. And she's like, just go on, just take her, go on. And you're right, she was considerate. She was treating Dee-Dee like she didn't know what she was talking about, or she was just being a bit namby-pamby about it. And kind of forced her onto it. And then Dee-Dee says that I don't want it, and in a perfectly reasonable way, and gets accused of being aggressive,
which is a word that's used against black women.
Yeah,
when they stand up for themselves.
Yeah, that was a particularly good scene.
I understand why people find this hard to believe, because you want to believe the best of people, and you don't want to believe that in this day and age women get treated like this, black women.
You also don't want...
It's true.
You also, I think a lot of us, even though we moan about various bits of the NHS, we also don't want to think that
really protective.
We're very protective of it. I mean, I saw, I think it was this week, that the national confidence level in the NHS is like an all-time low, like 20% of people saying that they have confidence in the NHS, which is awful. But we are still protective of it, and we obviously don't want to get rid of it. that's maybe why sometimes when you see things like that, you go, no. But yeah, no, that's interesting.
That's just what I didn't know what to say about this, because I've never obviously experienced racism, or childbirth, but I have experienced what it's like to be a woman who gets treated badly, and it was traumatizing.
Yeah,
I was really traumatized, actually.
Maybe I just need to be better at empathizing. I think sometimes if there's
I don't think empathy.
There's an issue that
empathy is difficult. What we want is for people to listen and believe. And this is what happens to women, no matter what it is. All this Me Too stuff, all of this, this medical stuff. Women just don't get believed when they say something has happened to them.
Right, shall we plough on with what actually happened then? So that all came off the back of a couple of nurses saying, yeah, we're a bit low on staff, aren't we?
Yeah.
Basically.
And I mean, I wish that there was more funding, and I would hate for this to turn into a witch hunt for the NHS. But we can't pretend it's not real, and it doesn't invalidate anybody's hard work or dedication to say that there are certain things that need to change and be improved.
Yeah, for sure. Dee-Dee gets sent home, doesn't she?
She goes home and her waters break, which was just disgusting.
All over the
floor. Terrible. Alia's there going, oh my gosh. I'm really thinking about Sarah Khan in these scenes, because she's just come back from maternity leave, and it's quite funny. I don't know why they did this, but when just to jump ahead, when Sarah and Alia come to Dee-Dee's rescue, you had Sarah hold the baby, because I think they were like, this character has had lots of experience with babies. Alia doesn't, so she wouldn't have held the baby.
Yeah.
And then when Alia kind of you only ever see her lean over the crib hello baby sort of thing, she doesn't know what she's doing, whereas so she's she's the
novice in this situation. Yeah.
But I was just thinking, I wonder whether she's let me hold. Right, so waters break, and so she goes back to hospital. James is very overwhelmed because this is his baby about to be born, isn't it?
I know.
And they're in the maternity ward later. Dee-Dee is in a really bad way. Her head is pounding, and she's still in the waiting room. They haven't admitted her or anything, and they're a bit busy. And this is when the nurse says, "Women like you are built for this." And who knows what she meant by that.
I think this is where the other nurse comes along, the nice nurse.
Well, the nurse was a person of colour.
Yeah.
Which I thought, when I saw her last week, I knew the story was coming. And I was like, I see. This nurse is going to be the nurse who takes her seriously. But I also think that there are plenty of issues. It doesn't matter what colour. I think it's institutionalised sometimes. So... The white nurse doesn't take her seriously, but the other nurse does, and she gets told that she's got pre-eclampsia, which, if you're a Downton Abbey fan, you know is very serious.
Oh, that's where it was, wasn't it?
I won't say any spoilers.
Somebody gets it.
They don't have a nice time.
And it's pretty not very pleasant thing to have, but even worse if you're in the early 20th century. Incredibly
serious. So they're like, right, time for a C-section. So later on, the Baileys get told, baby's out, everything's fine.
It's a girl.
It's a little girl.
Little girly girl. Yeah.
So she's recovering, and
this is when you have the breastfeeding scene after this, or the attempt.
She's obviously not read the notes, I guess, because she's busy.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, you would have thought that in a situation like this, it would be made loud and clear to everybody involved. She is giving this baby up. You'd have thought it'd be written on the end of her bed, or
I know, but the thing is about
behind her head.
I can see, again, it's one of these plausible deniability things where there probably are women who are a bit scared and anxious, and they need reassuring, and here you go, don't worry about it, you'll be fine, if that's what you're concerned about. Also, there probably are women who give up their children for adoption who don't mind breastfeeding before the baby.
Yeah, but I
don't know.
Who'd you thought you'd be able to put in a request? I wonder how common it is for women to give birth in hospitals knowing that they're not going to look after this baby.
Well, surrogacy is...
surrogacy. That's one example. And you'd have thought that there would be procedures in place to get the baby out and put it away, because put it away in a cupboard. Put it away somewhere until somebody can come and pick it up. Now, it seems quite cruel to Dee-Dee to have this baby in the same room as her. I would have thought, and I'm not saying that this is like a mistake on Coronation Street's part or whatever.
No, I think this is just demonstrating.
Yeah, I would have thought that Weatherfield General should be set up to not have that happen.
You don't know how much
is
of
it because
this
of their overworked
is them being busy, or how much of that is them not listening to Dee-Dee because they think they know better than she does.
Well, you've also got the element that James is supposed to be taking on the baby, so maybe they thought, well, it doesn't matter if the baby stays around Miss Bailey because the father is in the family.
Yeah, well, she has to hold the baby.
Yeah.
The family come in and she gives her straight to James, who's like, "Oh, a baby."
What do I do with this then?
Also, later on, Dee-Dee is telling the nurse, like, I still don't feel right. This isn't right, and I feel wet down there. And the nurse is like, "Look, we haven't got anyone who can look after you. Sorry, we're all busy." And then Dee-Dee just faints, which I guess helps the case. And
probably just faking it to try and get some attention. It's
good idea.
Yeah.
The nurse checks under the sheets and she's like, oh my goodness, there is a serious problem. Turned out she wasn't just lying. James is cradling the baby as telling her that he's her daddy, gonna give her a lovely life in America, and all the pain he and Danny have gone through is because of her, which just seems a bit of a burden to lay on a child. So Lauren turns up.
She's given Frankie...
Dee-Dee's been whisked off at this point.
Yeah.
Frankie's transplant is a success. She wants everyone to know, but nobody cares about her baby anymore. Everyone's worried about Dee-Dee because she's had a hemorrhage. She's in the theatre. And they don't... I got told I say it.
We have got an email later on that commends you on
my
the pronunciation
of
theatre.
If I didn't say it that word, I'd say theatre.
Theatre.
Right, so they don't know where Dee-Dee's gone. They haven't got any information. They're getting annoyed. The hospital person doesn't know what is going on, which I don't think is uncommon.
Oh no, I don't think it is. Absolutely, there's often you'll be wanting to find out
You'll sit
information
around
about, and you'd think that there'd be system in place, but
No.
there's clearly not.
No, because at the end of the day, they're saving people's lives and they don't have time. This is why we need more people.
Kind of more crucial.
Yes, this is why there should be more people. Which would be nice, wouldn't it? I've just solved a problem.
Just get more people.
Just get more people in.
Just do a drive. It's like teaching recruitment.
Just get more people.
That's on the decline at the moment. We just need to get more.
Yeah.
More people
just
signing
get more
up.
people. More idiots to do.
Anyway, James ends the episode with a bit of a threat, doesn't he? To
You're in trouble.
The hospital. If my sister dies, it's going to be on you. Not their fault, bless them.
Well, kind of is because they ignored her.
Yeah.
She's saying all the way through, "I'm ill, I need help," and they're like, "Well,
I think it's very easy to blame that. I'm sure everybody, or nearly everybody listening, has been in a situation where they've been in hospital for whatever reason, and they've got very frustrated that nurses have taken a long time to get to them. We've all felt that, haven't we?
I know, but normally you think, oh, that's good because it means I'm not that sick. But actually, in this case, it didn't mean that at all.
Yeah, no, I guess that's true. Anyway, Wednesday rolls round.
So they're all like, "Where is she?" Is it all...
What's going on with Dee-Dee?
Dee-Dee then gets some bad news and we don't hear it because we have sound effects.
We do, don't we? Yes, it's one of Coronation Street's classic. Have a echoey sound effect while somebody's being told something very, very bad. Yes. I don't think it was necessary.
Well, like I said to you, it's like it's surreal when you get told something like this, and so the surreality of the sound effect makes sense.
I managed to avoid spoilers massively for this week.
Because you were worried about Nintendo.
I know. You said you didn't, did you? You knew quite a bit that was happening for this storyline. You'd been having a bit of a... Had you been looking out for it, or did you just happen to stumble across the odd spoiler? I don't think I even knew that Dee-Dee was going to have the baby this week. That was how spoiler-free that I managed to stay, which is pretty good. But all the kind of pre-eclampsia stuff I had no idea about. Didn't know this was going to be an issue storyline. And when Dee-Dee was being told this news, I kind of looked over to you and said, "Do you know what she's being told?" And you were like,
"You've got to give the baby back."
Yeah.
You've got to go back in.
Sorry, Miss Bailey, this is another issue storyline that you're in. Sorry to break this to you.
She's
the
like,
Bailey families, when the Bailey family came in, everyone was saying they were the issues family, weren't they?
They
had all sorts thrown at them.
We're saying, "Really sorry. If you want some more information, itv.com/advice."
But terrible news, the hospital internet is awful.
Yeah, you have to pay £50 for
£50 a minute and
a card.
Terrible download speeds.
So they all go in to see Dee-Dee once she's able to have visitors. She's not really responding very well, and James is like, "I'm going to call the baby Laila."
Laila. I've spelled it wrong. It's Laila, isn't it? Laila. Thoughts on the name, Gemma?
Nice.
Laila Bailey.
Laila Bailey.
Laila Bailey. I haven't actually said that whole name out loud. That does sound quite.
Do you think she'll be Lala?
What?
Dee-Dee. Lala.
Dee-Dee and Lala. Laila Bailey. That does sound nice. Yeah, I approve.
Yeah, it's a nice name. Dee-Dee's like, fine, okay, call it what you want.
I would have thought that. I was expecting, and I don't know why, but I was expecting her to have a more biblical name from Dee-Dee, just to reflect her.
Well, Dee-Dee's not got anything to do with it.
Oh yeah, of course. No, she hasn't, has she?
She's nothing to do with it. It's James.
Okay. In that case,
James is a heathen.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? A little bit. Maybe they should have named her after a footballer.
He's called David Beckham. His baby's called David Beckham.
Okay, yeah.
Right, so they all head off.
I forgot that.
And Ed's like, I don't think she's right. There's something wrong with her.
Yeah,
and
she's just lying there on the bed, kind of woozing in and out, isn't she? Looking really quite miserable. Shanique was masterful this week. She really, really did an excellent job.
Recovers pretty quickly, I have to say.
Yeah, at the end she does. But that's just the Corrie way. But yeah, Ed can tell something's not quite
right. He goes back in. She pretends to be asleep. And then he says to her, well, he thinks she's unconscious, that she's the glue to the family, and without her they haven't got a clue. And I thought this was such a mean thing to say. I know he didn't realise she was awake, but what a burden to put on somebody who's in hospitalised. Like, oh, sorry. It's kind of flattering, but also, can you not make your own dinner?
That's what I was just thinking. It's a bit like an "I wash my pants" situation
if it weren't
here,
for
isn't
you,
it?
we'd all have dirty keks.
Dee-Dee doesn't live at number 3 anymore.
Well,
do you think that Ed takes the laundry down to the corner shop flat every week?
He's talking emotionally, isn't he? But it does. Yeah.
I want to know who does do the cooking now that Aggie's out of the way. Do you think they've experienced a whole new world
really
of
good at
nice
cooking.
food?
They're probably all good at cooking. It's only Aggie that wasn't. So anyway, she opens her eyes and says she hates hospitals. And he says, well, you can go home soon. We'll wait on your hand and foot. And one day you'll meet a lovely bloke who'll look after you and you can have a baby then. And she says, I can't. I had to have an emergency hysterectomy. So Ed is sympathetic and says, oh, do you want to keep the baby now? And she's like, no.
Well, it's more like well, you're definitely going to want to keep it for yourself now, aren't you, Dee-Dee?
He just says it's going to make you feel differently.
His reaction is he is sympathetic about it briefly, as you would, because having had a hysterectomy at her young age is devastating news, and he reacts suitably, as I say, sympathetic towards that at first, but he does kind of switch to the. Because he wants her to keep this kid, doesn't he?
Has a bit of an ulterior motive. But he also probably, to protect James, if she is going to change her mind, and it has changed her mind, then he needs to know as soon as possible.
I suppose, yeah, that's true. But James is probably. I think at this point, because he doesn't know about the hysterectomy, does he? He's still not worried that he's going to be losing the baby. But yeah, before long. That's going to be coming in his head, but he's got more to worry about by the end of Wednesday's episode, isn't he? Just because there hasn't been enough tragedy.
Alia goes to visit Ed when he's at home, brings some gifts for Dee-Dee, and asks him how he's doing, and he says, "I'm just worried about her. I wanted to recover, and she's traumatized and she's broken. And I don't know what to say about her. Everything I said is wrong." So he goes back to the hospital with a night bag, and Michael's there, and James is on the phone to Danny. And Ed sits down and tries to convince. I hope you're driving.
That's what I was just thinking. What's that loud banging sound?
Anyway,
hello, Danny.
You seem busy, so I'm gonna go.
Maybe.
God. Right, so he's like again.
That's right. They all drive like self-driving cars over there in America these days.
Oh yeah, definitely. So Ed tries to convince her to keep the baby and says. James is going to understand, and James walks in and is like, understand what? So James is not happy to hear what Ed is doing.
It was
a bit back.
It was pretty cruel of Ed Especially, like, he's the one that had summoned James back to Weatherfield with this amazing plan. James has been gunning for a baby, or trying for a baby with Danny to adopt one for years, apparently. This feels like, finally, my dad has thrown me a lifeline here. He's given me an option. And then just to have Ed at this point kind of throw it away, that's... Yeah.
Well, this is the tough
didn't feel a bit
bit.
betrayed.
This is the tough thing. And again, it's another sort of element of not being listened to when you're a woman, and also you're not a woman, you're a cat. Also, not people sort of telling you what's best for you, because there are so many hormones and emotions that maybe sometimes someone might be right. Maybe they might be right when they're being patronising or telling you don't know what you're talking about, or maybe you're not as in pain as you think you are because you're just scared. Maybe there is an element of truth there. But it's, by far outweighed by all the experiences that women are saying that actually, no, I knew exactly what I meant. And I'm really intrigued about how this Dee-Dee story is going to turn out.
What, with the complaint?
No, with the baby.
Or the baby bit, the baby story.
I don't want her to take the baby, because I want her to prove that she was right and she knew what she wanted.
I think I'm the same as you. But I do, it feels like...
it's going the other way, because everyone wants her to have the baby, because people like babies and they want people to be happy and have families.
I think it's natural and normal to say, well, a baby should be with a mother. That's not in any way a controversial viewpoint. But you're right, I'm kind of more along the lines of, she's decided she didn't want this baby. She's had people telling her, no, keep the baby, and she stood her ground throughout it. And if at the end of this she's like, oh, I was wrong all along,
it undermines the story.
And the strength of Dee-Dee's character, who has always been very strong-minded and strong-willed.
And it sort of goes, I guess you can tell women they're wrong about babies, because they always don't know what they're talking about.
It would turn out a little bit
I'd be
like
quite
that.
Disappointed. I think they'd have to work very hard to convince me that wouldn't be a bit of a cop-out.
I hadn't really considered...
Maybe James will fall down a lift shaft or something and die as well.
I hadn't really considered how they would have had a get-out for this, because I just assumed that James was going to be heading back to America with...
Or without a baby.
With a baby, fairly quickly after this. Obviously, there's a bit of a twist at the end of the episode that puts a dampener on that plan. But then I was thinking, so is James's recast just for, a month period? Is he actually going to go to America? It feels at the moment that his future is in Weatherfield, doesn't it? Let's get to the end of the story, then we'll talk more about what we think is going to be leading to.
Well, James hears Ed going to keep the baby, and he's not happy about it. But then Dee-Dee has to reveal the hysterectomy.
And what it means, because James apparently doesn't know what a hysterectomy is.
Hysterectomy.
Can't even say it, yeah.
It means she can't have any more babies, James.
Yeah, you're missing something quite important.
She says, you still can keep the baby. I don't, it doesn't change anything for me as far as I'm concerned. And James says, no, it changes everything. I could go do a thinking.
He is, at this point, is James saying, I need to decide now, or is he just worried that Dee-Dee's going to decide?
Well, he's probably thinking, can I, in all good conscience here, take my sister's only chance of being a mother away from her?
Yeah, it is a massive dilemma. It's quite
the
a
thing
good
is
one,
about
I suppose.
It is that Dee-Dee always said that she didn't want this baby. And the baby's now been born, and she hasn't... I was kind of expecting her to do which character was it who was going to be a surrogate, and then the baby was born. She's like, no, mine. I love it too much.
Tina?
I think it might have been Tina.
It's
immediately the baby was born and she was like, I cannot imagine a world where I'm not with this baby. I love it so much. And so that hasn't happened. It doesn't happen with lots of women. It didn't happen with Dee-Dee. She's not like on...
She's not, but you can tell that she's thinking about it.
I feel like she's not giving it any...
Bit.
No, I think to me, she's going, I'm not going to give him any opportunity. I'm not going to put myself in a position in any way where this could happen.
There are bits where she's giving lingering looks over at the crib, and you pointed out all the crying baby noises throughout all of
this is one of the worst
that
parts
she has to deal with and try and block out
about women's health, especially if you go to most we have a special hospital. I don't know whether other places do have.
The city of Southampton does. It's not our own personal
We've got
private
one in the
one.
garden. It's just a lady hospital. I go there all the time.
A man there with a scalpel out the back saying, "You
"Come
want
here,
anything lopped off?" Just
no. Obviously, that you're always going to go to. There's going to be, if there's not a standalone hospital, it will be a massive part of a main hospital. But when you're a woman who's going through some kind of traumatic birth experience, your baby has died, you have been told you can't have children, you're having a hysterectomy, you're having any kind of horrific procedure that affects your fertility, you're going to still go to the female hospital and you're still going to hear the babies and you're going to see the women with their children and their babies and the happy families who obviously are thrilled and want to share their happiness with the world. I always thought it's so cruel, like hearing the babies cry when you're left with nothing. So, but what can you do about it? Like, just put the babies in a soundproof room.
do you think that that Dee-Dee should be given the proper right to choose and think about it now?
Well, she has been.
I know, but
she's her own
James,
person. She can decide.
If you were James, would you be saying, you cut that, you can't, you told me it was mine, you can't take that away from me? Or would you?
You can't, you've got no right to.
Oh yeah,
you haven't signed anything.
That's where it's something's got to get signed, I assume, doesn't it?
If I was James, it's difficult because I have absolutely no desire to adopt a baby. I don't care. I haven't had one.
Well,
but
that's enough.
Logically, you would think that the thing to do would be to go, I'm going to stay somewhere else. I'm going to give you a month. You tell me what you think. Because you telling me now, that's fine, but I don't want to give you... The last thing he wants, he doesn't want to take the baby if she doesn't want to give it to him.
No.
That's not what he wants.
No, otherwise you'd feel like you were holding this baby hostage over your sister for the rest of its life.
We don't know enough about this James because, honestly, he was always a bit of a dud to begin with. But this James, is he the kind of guy who might go, no, this is my baby now? Could there be some?
So.
I don't know. I'm just chap. If you're sitting down and you're coming up with ideas for this story, that's one of the things you could say. Like, is there going to be a rift in the family? Are there going to be sides? Is Dee-Dee going to say, I want my baby back? I don't know. Yeah.
I wonder how quickly in these situations things do get signed. Because when
you're doing a surrogacy, it's before the baby's born, isn't it?
Yeah, I would guess so. It's just that every second the birth mother is with the baby.
I find it quite unpleasant to talk about because it's very emotional and I feel like I'm stomping through a garden of beautiful flowers. Not understanding whether I'm upsetting
That's all right.
people.
That's us with any storyline.
Okay. I know some things. I don't know anything about...
Okay, it's me with every storyline. Stomping blindly through it, going la la la. Just say
it's never done maliciously. Okay, when we kill a flower by accident.
I'm just very clumsy.
Yeah. So
I tripped over a nail and I knew yakking yesterday.
Yes, you did.
I got a hole in my slipper.
You got bleach on your coat. You got a hole in your slipper.
Yeah.
Alia comes visiting to see Dee-Dee with Lauren, who puts her foot in it about...
She kind of says... Do you remember?
Go on.
No, she kind of says, like, don't give up after your first baby. She says, you've had this one, but there's plenty of other chances, isn't there? Mm-hmm.
And then immediately Dee-Dee just takes it all out on Lauren. It's like, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have given birth. I wouldn't be in the problem I've got now. You ruined my life, Lauren. It's a bit harsh.
Yeah, how justified is Dee-Dee in tearing Lauren a new one there?
See, this is the trouble where I'm really fully for Dee-Dee giving up this baby and making her own, if that's what she wants. And I kind of think it would be powerful. I think Coronation Street's got really... It's actually pretty good with women who don't have a traditional relationship with having children. I think quite a lot of the women on the street have got very complicated backstories about their child rearing and birthing and why they've come to that decision. So I want to support, because this is kind of unique, I think. But in my mind, I can't help but think to myself, Dee-Dee had an opportunity to not have the baby, and she carried the baby for Lauren. And I just really do think that it was a very interesting decision to make if you had absolutely none whatsoever thoughts of keeping it.
I think that Dee-Dee was obviously and understandably in a very heightened emotional state at this point, and obviously there's going to be an apology coming.
Do you think Lauren did take advantage of her?
I'd have to watch back the scenes to see how they played it.
What I'm trying to say...
if Dee-Dee is being manipulated to have such an important life decision by this teenage girl, sorry, but she's not. Like I said, she's a very strong-willed character. I think that if Dee-Dee hadn't wanted to do this, she wouldn't have done it. I know she's a very good person, and she's a giving person, she's a charitable Christian person, but... She made the decision at the end of the day.
But what I'm saying is, was she subconsciously looking for a reason to keep the baby?
No, I don't think so. I think that she did it out of the kindness of her heart because she's a good egg.
I just do think that you could have really done a bit more research into how many transplant opportunities arise, because that one came up pretty quick.
This was the thing. Like she was saying, this was a total waste of time. Frankie's had the transplant and I wasn't even needed. Sucks, doesn't it? Sucks to be Dee-Dee at the moment.
It's also like a really completely unexamined and weird subplot that this poor Laila was born to be spare parts for Frankie.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like Frankenstein, isn't it?
Oh my goodness me! I mean,
Frankenstein's bone marrow.
This messes with people's heads. This is there are whole stories and movies about this concept.
Yeah.
And they just blithely ignored that entire thing. And I don't need them anymore.
Well, the climax of this is Dee-Dee announcing that she's had a hysterectomy, actually. Just to really drive that nail in.
I can't have another baby.
Make Lauren feel absolutely
And I don't want this one, it's rubbish. Get out. So after the break, Alia's comforting Dee-Dee and she's like, I've just been looking on forums about mums who've been through the same thing. It's made me really sad. So the Bailey boys visit Dee-Dee after Alia's gone, and James is like, I can help you if you want me to. I'll stick around. And she says, no, go to America before the tariffs kick in. Take this food with you. Take these eggs. He and Danny is going to be great parents. You just go. And he's like, no, I can't leave you, and I can't take this baby. And she says, no, I'm sure this is for the best. Ed's like, take some time, but before you make a decision here. Also, the other thing I'm thinking is can you really take a newborn baby out of the country when you're not, you're not its mum or its dad? Does it even have a passport?
I think you probably can.
I don't think you just take a baby out of the country that you're not actually the parent
in your
of.
Backpack. Smuggle it in your hand luggage, it's fine.
I wonder if there's a tariff on babies.
Maybe.
You've got to give us 10% of your babies and we'll get 10% back. Right, so...
go on.
Slow down before you make the decision. And James is like, I really need you to be sure.
I think
really
whatever decision Dee-Dee makes in this situation, there's going to be some element of regret down the line. If she says James can have it, she will 100% regret it. If she decides to keep it herself and sees James and Danny, or if Danny makes it through this, struggling to adopt, she's going to regret it.
There's no world in which there's regret.
No, there's no absolute right decision here that's going to make everyone happy for the rest of the time.
That's being a woman.
Oh, yeah.
It's a burden.
Oh, poor you.
Yeah. Oh, believe what women say, Michael. Right, so she says, yeah, you
Sorry,
please go.
I should take your whining seriously, should I?
Whining? What are you saying that for?
I don't know. Lack of a better word. What's next?
You watch yourself. Right, so he should go. Please leave. I've already decided. And the thing that's getting me is that she's always been clear that it's this baby that she doesn't want. It's not the concept of motherhood in general. It doesn't make any difference whether this baby is the only baby she's ever going to have. She said, I cannot raise Joel's child.
Yeah.
I think you can, because the drama will be too exciting. I do think I think that she's going to keep the baby, because I just think the potential of the drama of getting him, if Shanique stays in the show for long enough, there will be a Simon and Leanne moment with these two.
Do you reckon?
Where she's like, she's an evil child.
Sarah, I'm sure there have been scenes, there must have been, with Sarah saying that I carried the baby of a monster.
It did make me go insane.
But I'm sure that
now.
most of the time when Sarah sees Harry, she isn't thinking of Callum terrorising her in a live episode.
But I would say that I think Sarah is mad. And I wonder if it's Harry's fault.
Maybe. And Dee-Dee, again, I think for a while she would think about Joel, but not forever. But I think she's also because she's got a good conscience, she's feeling guilty about the effect that this is having on a little bro.
Who can say?
It's a decision.
So Dee-Dee gets one more hold and a kiss, takes the baby away. She's crying. So they get to the street, and then James gets a message. This is great.
You've got to admit that at this point it was just
what?
And one more thing.
Danny's been in a car accident. And it's serious.
I think we just kind of laughed at this.
I thought this was the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it was just on top of everything else that had been thrown at that family. It's just it's like, spooning it on, dolloping it on pretty thick.
What's that? Danny was in a car and he was driving along the road and then a bag of kittens fell on the floor and he swerved to avoid it, and then there was a lorry of orphans being transported. And he swerved to avoid them, and then he ran over an old lady, and he's nearly dead.
Yeah, they might as well have gone to that extreme. It was, I guess it means that they don't need to bring the Danny actor back at any point. So,
well, they're like, obviously Kate Brooks was like, I'm not paying for another one. Just say he's died.
Did they seriously? Did they have to go to that extreme?
No, I thought it was brilliant. It was so soapy. This is what I want. This is what I want from Coronation Street. I want stupid, hyperbole nonsense.
I think it took it too far this week.
I didn't. And all the issues. I don't care about Danny. I think it's.
I don't care that Danny's dead whatsoever.
But this just went.
But it was a bit of a gasp moment.
It was like I felt completely divorced from any feeling of sadness or anxiety. I just thought, what are they going to do now?
It is a bit of a what they're going to do now situation, because I was if there's for any James would have taken that baby off to America, wouldn't he? And that would have been the end of that. But now it's
to Delaware.
Now because I was very unspoiled this week. I don't know what's happening the next week either. It's going to be. I really am intrigued by this development as soapy as it was.
So
Friday rolls around. No, it was Thursday. Sorry, wasn't that written Friday?
Dee-Dee's looking at a forum online about other people talking about nurses, and she's decided to discharge herself. She's not staying there anymore.
Not just any nurses; it's narky nurses, isn't it? She's finding kindred spirits out there who haven't been treated nastily in hospital.
Well, this is the thing. You probably think you're going mad, like I did. Like this can't really. People don't treat women like this. This isn't normal. Am I crazy? Have I done something wrong? Was it me? Is it my fault? And then you go online and you find other people that have had the same experience, and you're like, thank God it wasn't. I'm not the only person who's gone through this, and I'm not insane or wrong or hysterical or stupid or being a baby about stuff. So Dee-Dee is looking for solidarity, but she's also realising that perhaps this place is a bit more dangerous than she wants it to be. So she's going to leave. The only way she's got power in the situation is by leaving, removing herself from it. Yeah. But she's clearly not in any fit state really to go, because she's had not only a C-section but a hysterectomy. Yeah.
I mean, we do know that there's a miraculous recovery rate.
She's
in
still
Weatherfield
completely
generally.
fine compared to how she would be. I was still annoyed about how she was moving around and picking things up, but the trouble is, it's so awful. But I don't see what you can really do get around it. But when you have a C-section, they're like any other abdominal surgery. They're like, right, don't pick anything up, don't do this, don't do that. But when you have a C-section, they're like, nothing heavier than a baby, coincidentally enough. So she's like, I'm going, I'll see you later. And
James is in America.
James has got. Well. Yeah, I was really shocked. I don't know why. I thought Danny was in England, and you told me that no.
They said very clearly he's over waiting for you in America.
But well, I guess it's not surprising that James has gone back.
No, well, if Danny is there in intensive care, isn't he? That's
critical condition.
Yeah. I'm
That's what I'm in
surprised he
every week.
survived Friday's episode.
Me too.
We were pretty convinced, weren't we, when we tuned in on Friday that
If he
Danny was
doesn't
going to be
die,
dead
I would
by
be
the
so
end.
shocked.
I would be incredibly shocked if he doesn't die. He has got a target on his back. Well, the target's sort of been shot. The arrow's just bleeding out slowly.
No.
What?
Okay.
The wound from the arrow. I'm painfully trying to get a metaphor done here.
Sorry, darling. Right, so James is in America. Laila's at home, and they're going to try and make things as easy as they can for Dee-Dee, and they're going to make it work. So even though they're not happy that she's leaving, they're going to support her. So she goes home, he's helping her into her chair, and then Debbie phones him, and this is the beginning of why you don't have a baby, right? Because immediately the baby's like 1 day old, and immediately they're like, there's a babysitting issue with this baby. We've got to talk about the childcare arrangements for the child. So he's got to go to the hotel because there's a drainage issue. Debbie's
toilets.
phoned him up, and he's like, I can't go. She says, no, you should go. Let's see if Michael can look after Laila. He's at a conference in Leeds, and Ronnie's got a 24-hour bug.
That was...
And you go, how did they know it's a 24-hour bug? And indeed, I think you're right, because you only know after the end of 24 hours
is up. Yeah.
how serious.
I think he's just pulling a fast
one. He just doesn't like babies.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't come. I don't like babies.
Was he actually in any of the hospital scenes? That I actually remember.
He's
Was he too busy having his
puking.
dramas with Debbie at the moment?
No, he's too busy on the toilet. So Dee-Dee's like, fine, I'll look after her. Don't worry about it. I'll be fine. And then she talks to James on the phone later, and she's like, oh, don't worry about it. Then we get to see Sarah.
Don't worry about it.
It's fine.
Dead. Don't worry about it. No, so don't worry about me.
So
Don't worry
you'll
about
look back
Laila.
on this and laugh one day.
James must also, feel bad for him because he's torn. He knows that every day that he spends away from Laila, the more likely it is that Dee-Dee's going to form some kind of bond with her. But he has to be over there, doesn't he? Got to be a soap star. Not soap
Why
star,
didn't Danny come
character.
over? Why didn't Danny come over once the baby so much?
He's
Selfish.
doing very important stuff setting up there, I don't know.
Sarah and Ali are talking about Dee-Dee in the pub, and they're worried that she's discharged herself, and she eventually she does call them. She calls them round to help her because she's stuck. She can't do anything. The child won't shut up, and she's worried. She doesn't know what to do.
I know that one of them's Alia and she's a little bit dull, but I did enjoy the fact that we had 3 friends together.
I did like the friends, the women, sisterhood.
Yeah, that was a lovely bonding moment. Oh, no, they were already bonded, but you don't... This is one thing that Kate Brooks said that she wanted to do a bit more of, isn't it? Friendship scenes, and I appreciated.
It was very lovely that she had people that she could call.
Yeah, the bit where they were sitting around the table holding hands was very lovely. It looked like they were about to start a prayer circle. Well, I'm surprised that Dee-Dee hasn't... seems like...
Listen, Jesus, I've got some questions.
It would seem like a very obvious and easy thing to write into a script, that either she is praying about what she should do.
She did say something about praying.
Did she? I missed that.
Maybe I made it up.
Or where's Billy to come round and visit
I know,
her?
Billy's like, oh, she's going, I don't.
Billy's only been in, 5 episodes this year or something somehow? He's off the face of the planet somewhere, but you'd have thought that he might have turned up there to offer some kind of solace to her.
Well, he was throwing himself into his clerical things. Anyway, so Dee-Dee, she tells them about Danny, and they're like, oh my goodness me. Oh my goodness me.
Oh Lord, poor Danny. Did anyone tell him to watch what he's doing when he crosses the road when he's a soap character?
Do you think he was in a car, or do you think he got hit by a car?
Oh, no, I think he was in a car. I think he had a bit of a crash.
Yeah. Look where you're going. That's my life advice.
Is he driving on the wrong side of the road again?
Probably. So they tell her she's Superwoman. They're going to help her. I really like that bit where Alia said to her, I'll help you write this letter of complaint. And Dee-Dee says, I couldn't ask you to do that, Alia. And she says, you don't have to. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
That was really nice. I
mean,
want
she could just get
like that.
ChatGPT to do it, couldn't she?
Yes, I'm actually going to... I'm a pretend solicitor. Like, I'm going to get
Maybe
Evelyn
she should
to
have
do
been
it.
like, I'm really sorry, Alia, but I've asked Evelyn to do it. Apparently she's excellent.
She's really good at complaining. So, Dee-Dee tells them about what happened to her in the hospital, and she says, I didn't feel heard, my pain was ignored, I was being treated like a problem, not a patient, and this happens to many other women. And then she says, people who've had assumptions made about them because of the colour of their skin. Then she starts crying again, and she says, I'm going to lodge a formal complaint about this is negligence. So Alia says, I'll help you with that. And then Sarah's like, oh, just hold the baby. Dee-Dee gets a text from James. He needs to speak to her ASAP. And I was like, Danny's dead, Danny's dead.
Danny's dead call, yeah.
Danny's in a coma.
An induced coma,
yeah.
to be fair.
And they're like, ooh, do you think he'll be all right? No. Ed comes up later. Dee-Dee doesn't tell him about complaining about the hospital things, but she does say, I've been speaking to James, he's in bits. And Ed says, look, me, Ronnie and Debbie, we're all going to look after Laila between us. And she's like, oh.
Yeah, right. So Layla's going to go and live in the house that apparently exists that Debbie and Ronnie stay in, that we've never actually seen. And Ed's going to have her at number 3. I expect we'll see her more at number 3. But yeah, so he's, I think, quite wisely getting her away from Dee-Dee, because she's clearly starting to have doubts, isn't she? And second-guessing herself.
I'm not sure that's exactly right. I think it's the emotional. I think what you're saying is that she's worried that the more time she spends with Laila, the more she will not want to give her up, and it makes it too complicated.
Yeah.
But I also think that maybe it's possible that she just finds it emotionally painful to be around her, knowing that no matter what, she wants to give her up. Like, because you can make a really bad, you can make a really, I'm not saying bad decision, but a decision that you know is going to affect you badly, but still know it's the right thing. But it doesn't mean you want to have it rubbed in your face for days on end. I just
some of the looks that she's given that kid, it's just making me think she's going to end up.
I really want to know now what's going to happen, because I'm finding it difficult to know how to. You? Yeah, I don't know whether to be annoyed or not.
No, would you say you enjoyed the storyline this week?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. I mostly did, but I just felt I was caught a little bit off guard by it. I didn't see it coming, and sometimes I don't mind that, but this...
I'm really glad they've decided to do a storyline about this.
Yeah, I guess so.
You just don't like the timing.
No,
but But there's never a good time for it, because Coronation Street's always... What, because it's medical?
It goes with all the other medical storylines, and there was lots of dramas going on with this already. I mean, you timed Wednesday's episode, didn't you, and found out that 21 minutes out of 44-minute episode were spent in a hospital
or sitting outside,
or just outside a hospital.
I didn't time all of the bits where Kevin and Julie were talking about cancer. But if I had, it would have been over 50%.
It was crazily hospitally.
47% of the episode set in hospital.
I've generally got a relatively high tolerance for that in Coronation Street, and I don't moan about it quite as much as some people online do, but it just felt like it was pushing it a little bit too hard on Wednesday.
It's honestly ridiculous. I think they need to knock it on the head. It's just I just think it's pointless. And I understand that every time they do something, they're doing something a bit different, and they're doing something new, and it is, and it is interesting in some respects, but it's also not Coronation Street to me. I'm sorry, but it's not. So
moving on, because we've had that story for a little while now, just a tad overrunning there. The Kevin storyline was more tragedy, wasn't it, this week? Well, it started off with Debbie, and then Kevin kind of took the reins on Wednesday. So Monday's episode was the continuing what's up with Debbie then sort of stuff. She and Ronnie are having a bit of sexy talk at the table in the cafe on Monday. He kind of takes it as a bit of a, let's go to bed or something, and she rebuffs him. She's like, no, I can't. I need to go and look after Alfie so that Kevin can have a pre-chemo rest. The other thing that's going on while all this drama is happening is that Ronnie is making an enemy out of Mick, isn't he? And Mick comes in, demands a bacon balm, and Debbie's like, just leave him alone, because obviously they had the big falling out last week about...
Ronnie wants to have a go at Mick, and she's like, don't, just leave him.
Yeah, they had the big falling out over him not paying for the work that he did at the hotel. So, we get a little bit of a mystery scene later on, which I think they're going to have to come back to, because you're left a little bit in the dark with what's going on. But basically, Debbie's hanging out a bit of washing. Then there's a load of loud music coming out of the Michaelis' house. Debbie goes round the backyard and starts yelling at him to turn it down. The next thing we find out, though, is that she's down on... We don't see her down on the floor, do we? She's kind of staggering along the ginnel. She's got blood coming out of her temple. Alfie's all alone in the house because the reason that we, the viewers, see this is Ronnie comes home, finds that Alfie's been left on his own, and he goes and finds Debbie there. And Debbie is basically just very dazed and confused and a little bit wobbly about it. It's a very, very, very widely discussed issue of what is wrong with Debbie at the moment. Now's not the time on the podcast for us to talk about it, but I think it's coming soon that we will be able to talk about what's happening with Debbie here, and we've got stuff to say about it as well, don't you worry about that. But for the time being, Debbie says she just doesn't know what happened. She didn't black out or anything. She doesn't think she slipped. She doesn't think anyone attacked her. She says, it's probably just my big clumpy shoes. The Debster lives to see another day. Ronnie thinks, though, this is Mick's doing, which is a bit jumping to conclusions, isn't it?
Yes.
That my partner's been attacked in the ginnel. Of course, it's the people who live there that have got a bit of a grudge against us. So he goes to Mick in the pub later, confronts him and says, you were responsible for Debbie's injury. They kind of square up to each other, and Lou says, well, actually, Mick was with me all afternoon, christening our new zero gravity mattress, if you know what I mean. I can't even think what a zero gravity mattress would be. It sounds filthy. Kevin comes down the house, the back of the home later, and he's concerned about Debbie's head and where, she's had her injury, and she's like, no, don't worry about it, it's fine. And then left alone with Debbie later, Ronnie admits that he had a run-in in the pub with Mick, and she says, look, you just need to drop this. Can't have any arguments with the neighbours. Please, Ronnie, do it for me. So, Wednesday rolls around, and Ronnie's trying to keep busy amongst all the Dee-Dee drama, so he's somewhat involved in it, albeit a little bit on the sidelines. And Debbie doesn't want to keep going on about her head still. She's just trying to brush it off. I think that kind of fits with Debbie, that she's
don't dwell.
Don't dwell on things. She lives life in the fast lane, does Debbie. When you're the boss of a hotel, you've got no time for sitting around dwelling on things. So she's like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Just don't ask me about it again.
Don't ask questions.
So Ronnie says, just please, all right, I will, but just try and relax today, okay? Abby, meanwhile, is getting Kevin packed up for the hospital. She wants to make sure he's got everything he needs, but he doesn't want a fuss. He just wants to get in there, get hooked up to the machine in his chair, have his...
Drink it all down.
What was the book that he had? I can't remember. Bob Mortimer, was it? And
it's about fishing.
Yeah, and just leave me to it, Abby. I suppose a decent attitude to have. I don't think anyone. Don't. I think if you're going for your first chemo session, you've got the right to get on with it. You got the right to feel however you want to about it. But it was nice that Abby was being supportive, at least.
Yes.
Abby can't end up staying with Kev for too long anyway, because she hears that Alfie's been sick, and Kev's like, honestly, I'll be fine.
I think that's where Ronnie got it from.
I'll be fine, he says.
Do you think that we're unravelling a secret subplot?
What?
About where Ronnie got his 24-hour bug from off Alfie.
Maybe it is.
The little
maybe
sick
it is.
kid.
Yeah, sneezed on him.
Yeah, wiping snot, probably.
Yeah, obviously when Abby walks out, Kevin gives a bit of a soap expression, like, ooh, maybe I'm not feeling so good as I'm making out.
Maybe I don't love having chemotherapy.
He's hooked up there. The nurse is kind and sympathetic to him.
Yeah, because he's a white man.
She obviously didn't get the memo that all nurses are supposed to be bitches.
Not busy in this department, are they?
No, they're just hooking people up to a machine and standing around waiting for them to be finished until they're empty. He's on the bench outside later, and there's quite a affecting scene between him and Julie. How coincidental and how helpful for the story that two of our beloved characters are suffering with horrible cancer, because it lets us have the opportunity for a scene like this, and he just looks so miserable, doesn't he?
Well, what's he supposed to do?
He looks like... What's that? Is it Droopy, the name of the dog? That cartoon dog, the white one? He is a little bit like that. He's got every right to be. But Julie says, look, if you want to cry... Flipping well got the right to. You're going through a rotten time. If you
want to, Droopy, do it. If you want to be Eeyore, knock yourself out.
Exactly. And besides, Jack needs to see that your dad's got emotions. Don't try and hide it from him. Come home with me. We'll put some 80s bangers on the car and it's all going to be okay. So it was a nice little scene with her offering some supportive words to him.
Yeah.
So we get another confrontation later between Ronnie and Mick in the street about him attacking Debbie. I don't know why Ronnie is so insistent that this is what's happened.
No,
like, it could have been
really
any number of things
for her to sort of pretend that she hadn't been attacked. And also, if I thought somebody had beaten my girlfriend up to the point that there was blood on their head, I wouldn't just only think of it when I saw Mick.
No.
I'd report him to the police.
Exactly. They're drowning in coppers at Weatherfield, aren't they?
I wouldn't just seem to forget about it until I saw him, like a dog just like bark at him.
Mm. But yeah, but he does the stupid thing of slashing his tyres with a screwdriver, doesn't he? As if that's going to solve anything.
Mick's used to it now.
I know, that poor van. It's really been through the ringer, hasn't it? Thanks to the people of Coronation Street. Anyway, Debbie just so happens to see him doing it.
What's
and
the
gives
quote?
him what? Is there no end to the stupidity of men? You got me to write that down, didn't you? Because I think that's your mantra. Yeah. He's pretty proud of himself, to be honest. And she heads to the hotel and says, "Look, just leave Mick the heck alone." So
I'm joking. Men are clever sometimes as well.
Some of them are, not me. Back in the cafe, Julie's giving Kevin a bit more of a pep talk about. Well, she's just going to talk about how he might go about trying to cope with his horrible diagnosis at the moment. And he says that, are you ever angry? He's feeling angry about this. And she's like, well, of course I'm angry. So easy to feel cheated out of the life that you thought you were going to have. But then she admits that the mantra, live life like you're living, not like you're dying, has really got her through this. She said, I thought it was a bit cheesy at first, but actually done a fairly good job for me. And that does kind of resonate with what we've been seeing of Julie so far, isn't it? She's had her moments of bursting into tears and with Eileen when it's got a bit too much for her, but I'm enjoying seeing that she's living life to the fullest while she still can. I don't know what that means for Kevin. Like, what gets Kevin excited? What's going to be on Kevin's bucket list?
Going in have a go at Tyrone for not doing the car fast enough.
What gets Kevin's motor running is seeing a game of football and going to the pub, and I think that's literally all in his life.
Finding a new red accessory for his kitchen.
Yeah. Mick storms up to Ronnie in the pub later, accusing him of damaging his tyres, and he's like, well, I've got dash cam footage actually. Ronnie's like, well, you deserved it, so whatever. Mick says, well, I want paying what I'm owed for the hotel work and for the slashed tyre, or I'm taking the footage straight to the police. So,
well done, Ronnie.
All dramas. It's a stupid thing to do.
Is there no end to the stupidity of men?
People. It feels like a not infrequent occurrence in Coronation Street that people like, you know what? I'm just going to slash their tyres.
Smash their window.
Key their car. Yeah, it's like, seriously, that's naughty. Very naughty. So Abby finds Kevin and Julie in the cafe later. She's a bit upset that she didn't know where he was and he hadn't told her about it, so she has a bit of a go at him back in the house. So it feels like that tensions are flaring up between the two of them again, and he's like, sorry, it was just really a relief to talk to Julie, someone who understands what I'm going through. And then they have a hug, so it's fine for now, but it's planted a little bit of seed of doubt in the solidity of the romance of the century, Abby and Kevin. Do you think that Abby was a bit harsh there? I felt that she should kind of let him do things in his own time. But in this day and age, you've got your phone, haven't you? There's really no excuse if you think that someone's going to be worried about you.
Yeah, I know. If you're going for your first chemo session, you probably should be like, all fine, coming home.
Do you think that Abby's jealous of Kevin with Julie?
No. I want to be in your cancer club.
They're just like,
that's the one club
he's spending time with her and not spending time with me, because that would be a little bit petty, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would hope not.
Friday's episode of this is about Jack fighting at school, and this isn't the first time that we've heard of this. This was last week. Jack doesn't strike me as the sort of kid who gets into fights. Does he? You? He's kind of a good boy. Why?
Because I don't want to incriminate myself.
I know there's not a type and anybody can, but Jack has always felt not at all like a stirrer.
Are you going to make me say it?
What?
Right, this is a joke because it's fictional. I think he's quite bullyable. He's such a wet blanket.
He really is. Maybe that's what's going on.
Maybe he's fighting.
Maybe he's
being
fighting
picked
back
because everyone's like, Jack, you lunk. boring.
He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't feel like
a joke.
A fighter. But I guess the idea.
He's a lover, not a fighter.
I think what Kevin says to Abby or someone or other later is, there's a lot going on at home. He can't control it, so he's taking control at school.
Yeah,
but he really does seem like the type that just wants to keep his head under the radar.
Yeah, you're right. He doesn't seem like a fighty kid.
No.
Well,
which is
of course, obviously.
It's odd that he's paired up with Hope. They don't seem to work well together for me. But anyway, he has a go at Jack, and Jack says, "Well, Debbie knew about it already because from when it happened the other week. She obviously didn't think it was a big deal." So they kind of butt heads for a little bit, and then Jack stomps off to school. Kevin phones up Debbie and says, "Well, what's going on with this fight? Why didn't you tell me about it?" And she says, "I dealt with it. You've got bigger fish to fry." And that was quite a nice scene because Kev's kind of, he does understand why she kept that from him. So that was lovely. There's been a few nice brotherly, sisterly, bondy kind of moments on this storyline, hasn't there? It's nice definitely that taking the chance, opportunity to draw on that relationship that we've seen for the past 40 years, on and off.
I also, you said about the friends thing is good. I also think that there's a bit more of an effort to sort of rebond families that aren't just the Platts and the Barlows, because this lot are kind of all, the Baileys are, and also the Websters are feeling like they're rallying around each other, and also the Grimshaws.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of family stuff, and I'm going to say that previously I would have argued that a lot of family scenes took place because they all live together and they have a story together, which is not the same thing as feeling like they're a team or they're bonding or they're, got each other's backs. Can you see the difference? Yeah.
We're still waiting for the annual Kirk and Maria have a scene together to remind everybody that they're siblings.
Like we're waiting for the annual Maria and Gary scene. I haven't seen either. I
don't know what's going on with them at the moment. Seriously, I don't know. Anyway, so that's all been lovely. He's at the garage later, and this is where the storyline starts to get a bit silly as well, doesn't it? This fallout that's being clunkily engineered between him and Tyrone. Tyrone's saying, "Look, I don't need you here at the garage. I'm handling everything." And then Hope and Jack turn up. Jack wants to go to a party later on, and Kevin's like, "No, you and fighting, no way are you doing that." And they drop off together, and this kind of sets Tyrone and Kevin against each other because they both think that the other's child is being a bad influence.
I mean, it's clearly always Hope.
It's clearly always Hope, isn't it? She is by far the catalyst to all of the Corrie Kiddie problems. So Kev's back at the hospital later for some 4-star leaded chemo. I thought that was quite a nice little line there. And he just says he wants to be alone. Abby doesn't have to stay. Do you think that... I don't know. Again, he's the one that's going through this. He should have it how he wants to have it. But
there's certain points where you're like, "Can you just go away, please, because you're stressing me out."
Is that what you'd be saying to me?
Yeah, just leave me alone.
I suppose Abby just needs to be patient.
Well, there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do. Maybe I don't know what it feels like.
No, is it stressful?
Does it make you feel sick immediately?
I don't know.
I don't like. Yeah, I don't. Also, do you?
You just want to sit and relax.
You don't want to make small talk.
Yeah, maybe it would be the small talk.
I know that they're married, and it's not quite the same thing. But
perfect opportunity for recording a podcast if one of you's hooked up to the chemo machine. Gonna say.
Well, we'd just be like ChemoCast, yeah. Like, right, you people listening in, you've got to give us Patreon money for this. Everyone in this room.
So Craig and Jess. Yes, that's right. Jess is back.
Jess is back.
I can't remember what her surname is. Craig's on and off
Jess
colleague, who's been on the show for a very long time,
love her,
is back. It is, yeah. It's not quite a.
She's
wow.
heard.
It's Dr. Gaddis.
She's heard what happened to Lisa Swain.
What?
She's like, I could be in next year. I'll be in it as the main character.
Oh yeah, she probably is. She's probably trying to get that sweet contract, isn't she? You're right. So anyway, they see Hope and Jack in the precinct later, and they're sitting on the swings. The kids are talking about Kevin, and then they see Toya and Nick dropping off some electric scooters.
Is this kind of come in another point? Or
no.
I've
left it out. Toya and Nick decide. Well, it's mostly Toya that decides. Oh, we should do something random.
Oh, this is painful.
It was really painful.
This is painful.
We're fun. We're cool.
Because they are both dorks, but
they're
equally,
so square.
This is the sort of stuff I say to you periodically. I'll be like, let's do something fun and different. let's join the National Trust and never go again.
Yeah, it was.
And it's
it was
the most
very
boring
much like
middle
that.
class nonsense.
Yeah, I hope it was meant to come across like
I think it's
them being a bit.
They know that they're a bit helplessly. Lame.
Yeah, they don't know what fun is. Those two. Well,
they do. They
can make their own. There, you're right. Sorry, look, I'm closer to them than I am to. Yeah, the
other characters would be like, let's go set a fire. Let's just stab someone's tyres.
Let's just go to the pub.
Yeah, or let's go to the hospital.
It's a bit of a busman's holiday for them at the moment, but anyway, it was quite funny. It's nice they got an appearance at least.
They go on an electric scooter, and it's one of these ones that you rent.
Yes.
So that's why they left them there.
They leave it there in the newly appeared. Parking
thing.
slots.
Well, this happens in real life.
Just show up anywhere,
scooter things appear.
And Hope gets the idea that they should go for a bit of joyride.
Now that is random.
Why?
Well, she knows how to have more fun than Toya.
You're right. And Hope, luckily, Jack has managed to acquire Kevin's driving license, credit card, or something. Whatever ID you need to be able to take a scooter. He happens to have one.
Everything they need for a good day out, haven't they? Because they got a credit card, they got scooters, and Hope has got some of Evelyn's brandy.
Yeah, so she takes a swig of, and that's when Craig and Jess spot them again, and then Tyrone turns up, and so does Kevin. This was very much I
reckon.
What are the chances when stars align?
Sweet Enough was obviously doing a special 25% off milkshakes, and everyone just happened to be there.
Tyrone did have a milkshake in his hand, didn't he?
So,
I came home from work with a milkshake for myself today as well. So old people like us, me and Tyrone, can have them too. It's the last day of the spring term today. I'm into my Easter holidays.
How do you ration your milkshake treats?
I try not to have one more than once every 3 or 4 weeks.
Knowing you've plotted that scientifically.
So the kids get a Spanish Inquisition about what they were up to, how they managed to get the credit card to rent the scooter and everything. And as the cops go to the side to have a bit of a sly chat about it, Tyrone and Kevin have a go at the kids themselves. Kevin seems to be struggling somewhat, understandably, after day 2 of chemotherapy. And Craig's decided, because he's just a nice guy really, that they're going to have an informal chat with the kids, give them a bit of slap on the wrist. And Jess sympathises. She empathises with Kevin, doesn't she? Because she said, "Oh, my dad had chemo last year." Is that the only reason that they brought him back? Because Craig couldn't say that. And Kevin clearly thinks he's just being a bit of a pity case in all of this. But
yeah, he didn't like
if it gets you off of doing a bit of misdemeanour, and
well, Kevin,
all the better.
Did
you
not
got to get
see the
something good out of it, apart from no cancer.
1 in 2 people have cancer, so everyone's going to be like, "Oh, I had cancer," or "I knew someone who's got cancer."
Yeah. Back at number 13 later, Abby takes it on herself to have a go at Jack herself. She's got more energy than Kevin to give him a bit of a rollicking. And she's like, I can't believe you nearly ended up in the police station because you were bored. And he's like, "Oh, I think about stuff when I'm bored, scary stuff." So poor old Jack's clearly trying to distract himself from all the worries about, is my dad going to die?
Yeah.
Am I going to be an orphan? And it doesn't give you...
One-legged orphan.
So it didn't mean you can go around doing that, Jack, but it's nice that they put it in there to help me understand it a little bit more. Because not only is Jack not really a fighter, I don't think he ever breaks any rules, did he? I know he set a car on fire last year, whatever it was, but I still don't believe that it fits his character. He's just very beige, isn't he, generally? But some of us have got to be.
Hope's a bad influence.
Yes, it's all down to Hope. Tyrone finds Kevin having a drink in the bistro later, and he's pretty clearly down in the dumps about everything that's going on. Tyrone says, "Look, I'll have a word with Jack if you like." Kevin doesn't like the insinuation that he can't discipline his own son, and I imagine Kevin would also be a little bit... I think he's still got it lingering in the back of his head that Tyrone at one point, in a parallel universe,
baby.
Yeah, Tyrone is Jack's father, or would be Jack's father, so he doesn't want any of that. He says, "Well, I'm just going to tell him to stay away from that Hope. She's clearly a bad influence." And this is when a massive flare-up happens that, to cut a long story short, results in Tyrone deciding to quit working at the carriage because he can't possibly work with Kevin anymore because they can't reconcile their differences about whose kid is to blame for all the drama that's going on. And this was another what moment, wasn't it, for us? Like, seriously, they're doing this?
Tyrone's like, "I quit my business."
Yeah.
Why?
He does have He does have a share in this business, doesn't he?
Well, he says my business. He calls him his business partner.
Yeah, oh, you're right. He did. It came across as a real throwing your toys out of the pram moment for Tyrone.
It was one of these escalations to nothing that Coronation Street does quite.
It will be. I'm not necessarily saying this is 100% going to happen, but I would think that the chances are pretty high on Monday's episode for him to have said, "Sorry, Kevin,
or
I want to work with you, really."
And she'll say something like, "Oh, I should bash your heads together, I swear."
Yeah, it's just the same as when we had that episode a week and a half ago where Lisa ended it saying to Carla, "I think we should call it quits now." And then the next episode,
talk to you again.
Next episode, they were back together again. And then you had in the same episode Betsy declaring that she doesn't want anything to do with her mum anymore because she thinks Carla is more important than her. And lo and behold, on this Monday's episode, she's like, "Oh, you're all right, really." It's real.
They need to stop doing it because it just it doesn't give you anywhere to go that's higher than that.
No, there's no consequences. It's a symptom of their feeling that there has to be some kind of cliffhanger to every story in an episode.
Why can't Danny be nearly dead in it at the end of every episode? Every episode should just end with, "What's that? So-and-so was in a car crash."
Yeah. So anyway, I wasn't kind of doing cartwheels at this story this week because it was just a bit too much misery. Obviously still loving the Julie stuff, but she also appears in Todd's storyline later, which is nice. I just would like to point out that I enjoyed seeing the guy opposite Kevin with a Weatherfield County Football album. Well done. Props to the designer that cobbled that together. Yeah. That looked pretty good. Should have had a James Bailey sticker with the old actor in just to
and the bloke's like, I don't understand why he looks so different.
Well, rather than calling it a recast, we should have just said it's a transfer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that a suitable football?
Yeah, why not?
Am I right with
who's
going
to tell us any different?
Right, so the Jenny Connors story next, and had a glorious return for Christina.
Love Christina. She's so glam.
She's the kind of character that often when she's not in it, I think, oh, she's nothing. But then when she comes in, I'm like, yes, I do think she's amazing. I forget, because I kind of put her in the same ballpark as like Linda, for example, who comes in, swans in for a story and then disappears off for a little while. But I don't really enjoy Linda so much. She's fine, but Christina is genuinely an utter delight and a gem. And I'm just very, very sad that she's not a main character, because she's really got the potential to be a superbly strong and feisty and bolshy and cunning classic Corrie matriarch type.
Honestly,
hasn't
she's
she?
fantastic.
But her appearances have only ever been sporadic and very, very brief. So I'm in no doubt that this is going to be the same for this time round. But it is a real crying shame.
She's great,
and I would just love Coronation Street to find a way of keeping her in for a long time.
She's like an evil Glenda.
She's super. She is, and she's like so huge, isn't
Glamorous.
She swans along glamorously. Takes up. Yeah, she's just really, really excellent.
She cruises
casting.
in like Queen Mary.
Yeah. And everybody's kind of a bit intimidated by her.
Get out of the way, tugboats. She's coming through.
Everyone's a bit intimidated by her, aren't they? Because of her, her build and her confidence, and she's just perfect for Coronation Street.
She's really cool.
And the fact that she's tied in with Jenny and Daisy in the pub, who are two other favourite characters of myself, of me and you as well, just means that all their scenes are an utter delight, really. So what are they up to this week then, Gemma?
So Monday, Daniel and Daisy are in the cafe and she's moaning about Jenny and all the stuff that she said. And she says, I'm done with her, because this is the big fallout where they were saying the most horrible things.
Yeah, well, it was mostly Jenny.
Both of them saying to each other, "You killed Bertie," and then Jenny saying, "I'm glad your baby
not
died."
Bertie. I certainly hope Bertie's not dead.
Tom. And then Jenny said, "I'm glad your baby died," because she wouldn't be very good at being a mum.
It was really rotten. I don't blame Daisy for the way she's acting at all.
She's not happy about this. She says, I'm done with her. And Daniel's like, oh, it's a waste of time hating some like trying to be, just shut up.
This is totally what I'd be like though, isn't it?
Don't waste your life hating someone who loves you.
You would be just like Daisy in this situation, and I'd be like, Daniel, I'm such a tempter. I just try to make a peacemaker. I haven't got the argument. I don't like arguing. I can never win an argument.
You don't like
arguing. Especially if
arguing.
it's with you. So just And I don't like it when you get angry at other people as well. I'd say, just don't worry about it, Gemma. Just don't worry about it. And you're like, don't tell me what to do. And this is this. So this
makes life more interesting. I definitely
saw ourselves in here.
It gives me something to do.
I think it's just part of a teacher's nature to want to say, all right, lads, break it up. Placate. Or girls in this case, I suppose. Right.
So he's just trying to be reasonable and say it's for all this Bertie stuff brought back nasty memories. She didn't mean it. But Jenny gets a nasty shock because, as we said, Christina rocks up at the Rovers, claims she's heard about Daisy's miscarriage, and she came straight over.
Well, this was who Daisy was on the phone to last Friday, wasn't it? Remember at the end of the episode, she's like, I need you to come along, something's happened.
It's so funny that she clearly didn't want moral support from Christina or like emotional support about losing her baby. She just wants a partner in crime to get one over on Jenny.
To get revenge back on Jenny. I wish that I hadn't known about Christina coming back, but sadly that one was spoiled for me, so I knew exactly who Daisy was on the phone to Friday. But...
Well, Christina's just makes herself at home immediately. She comes on to Steve. She serves herself some beer.
It's brilliant because she is not intimidated by Jenny whatsoever.
No, she doesn't take her seriously.
Jenny is the boss, and Jenny is quite good at leading. She's quite forceful herself, isn't she? But in the face of Christina, who just, like you said, cruises on in there doing whatever the hell she likes. Jenny's not used to that.
Am I right in remembering that? Was Jenny babysitting Daisy, or have I made that up?
No, that's no.
But anyway, Christina does not have any respect for Jenny at all because basically Jenny stole her husband.
Gregory, remember that?
The elusive and handsome Greg.
And rich. And with excellent investments.
Wow.
Although he forgets about it.
You don't know how much money he put in. If it was probably $100,000 if he put it in the stock market this week. So, comes into the pub. Yeah, she's annoyed. She doesn't want her to serve herself. There's a tussle, and then Jenny ends up with beer all over her. Clocks off to the back, has a shower, and then joins Daisy in the back of the room to try and attempt a civil chat. And she says that we both said, well, they both agree. We said some horrific things, and Daisy says, I hope you didn't mean any of it, because if you did, don't know I'll ever love you again.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone else, when they heard about Jenny going off for a shower, just get flashbacks of Ryan in there after his acid in the face?
Yeah, do you think there's holes in the plastic?
I do think so. Jenny's there sudding herself, going, I really must get that fixed.
So Daisy says, I tried to think about Tom in bed last night, but I couldn't picture him. It's like he took him away from me. I used to be able to do it, and now I can't anymore, and it's your fault.
This is a great heart-to-heart scene.
They talk about the stuff, the cartoons that he used to enjoy, and Daisy says she was proud that he was my little brother. And then she says, Jenny, have you always really believed it was my fault? And Jenny says, look, I was a mess after Tom died. I couldn't face anything. I couldn't face Greg. I couldn't face you. My heart was broken. I know if we could go back and change things, we would, and I shouldn't have said what I said. So I still think she does blame her.
I think that she still does, yeah.
And I don't think that they're ever going to get over that now.
Now it's out in the open. That was... and maybe I'm wrong and we missed it. That was Jenny's opportunity to say, no, I just said it.
I wonder why she's not going to let that go. If
Jenny had said, no, I didn't believe it, I only said it because I was heightened, I was really cross, I don't think Daisy would have believed her. I think once something like that has been said, so cruel and callous, how are they going to get out? I mean, soap characters are always having fallouts and making up again. We just talked about it.
Rita and Bet never made up.
Rita and Bet never did make up.
Good for them.
That's right.
Hold a grudge forever.
Rita knows how to hold a grudge.
Rita still holds a grudge against Jenny for asking her for money about 40 years ago.
I know.
Right, so Christina cannot believe what she's hearing later. She goes to the back.
Rita's also holds a grudge against Mavis for being a blithering idiot, and I think that's why she pops off to Cartmel every now and again, just so she can get in a few
Mavis,
more digs.
Still an idiot, I see.
Yeah.
Where's my bedroom?
She just misses it. She gets the urge.
Yeah, she's like, I need to bully someone.
Take a pop at Mavis. Right. Poor Mavis, she's like, I can't say no.
God. Rita's coming again. Oh no. Right. Christina can't believe what she's hearing later. She goes to the back of the pub and she finds them calling a truce, and so she reluctantly shakes Jenny's hand. Daniel comes into the pub later, and then Christina makes a big fuss of him, gives him a big hug. Debbie tells Daniel that she and Jenny are on the mend, and Christina's like, well, I don't approve of that. Takes her to one side, and it looks like they've been plotting. Daisy and Christina are still plotting to get Greg's money.
Well, it's not a still plotting. I think this is the first inkling that we get that this plot is happening, don't we?
We should be the ones getting Greg's money, not Jenny.
Yeah. I didn't put two and two together at all after Monday's episode about what their plot was, because they did have Jenny looking at her dating app on Monday's episode, didn't they? And this is obviously all part of the ruse that Christina and Daisy are putting together. Even though I really love Jenny, I just think it's fantastic, and I'm kind of rooting for Daisy and Christina. Are you taking any sides here?
Jenny's definitely not our focus. Is she? We're following Christina and Daisy.
Yeah, the show seems to be writing it like the show seems to be writing it like Jenny deserves it, and yet she kind of does. She kind of does, because she knew about all this money. She's been keeping it from Daisy. Daisy still doesn't officially know about it.
She's giving it to Carla. I know she tried to hide it.
I know, but I think that she should have been open about this with Daisy. And obviously, after all the things that she said, and I know she was angry, but sorry, Jenny, you're a grown
really
woman.
out of line.
That was massively out of order. Still love you, Jenny, but it's like with Toya and Leanne, you know. I enjoyed seeing Leanne taking Toya to the cleaners and framing her for fraud or whatever she was doing around Christmas, because Toya had been a bit of a cow and stolen her boyfriend. So, yeah, I can enjoy seeing characters get one over some of my favourites, partly just because it's a story related to my favourites.
But yeah, again though, these characters are still stealing the same amount of money off each other all the way around in a circle.
I know.
Because how are they going to get the money from Greg off of Jenny when she's supposed to be giving it to... She's supposed to be getting a business loan. It's so goddamn complicated. Supposed to be getting a business loan out and then paying Carla back with that down payment for the business loan for the full amount of money that she's owed. But it was Daisy's idea, and no matter what surely stealing the money in the first place.
Stephen, yeah.
No matter what happens, that 60 grand is still reduced both of their amount of money that they owe. So even if she told Daisy, it wouldn't have made any difference.
Yeah, I know, but...
Anyway, Christina's like, the day that Jenny Bradley falls on her flaming rump will be the best day of my life.
I think maybe that's why I really love Christina, because she calls her Jenny Bradley.
Yeah.
And Jenny Bradley
still holds a grudge from
that's
her
what the
nicking her
fans
husband.
call her as well. And she's been Jenny Connor for, 5, 6, 7 years now.
Yeah.
But and I think I have got used to her being Jenny Connor. I remember she was one of the characters that when she get married, I'm like, no, I'm never going to accept her new married name. She's Jenny Flamin' Bradley. That's just who she is, isn't it? But I've kind of got used to it. But to bring that name back, it is a bit like, often people will call Sally Webster, wouldn't they? Because that's the name that she was best known as. It doesn't happen so much these days. But when characters were gossiping about her or disparaging her, they'd be like, oh, that flaming Sally Webster at number 13. She thinks that she's so high and mighty. Yeah, I brilliant stuff.
So, on Wednesday, Jenny is on Gay Bay going, there's loads of really handsome men on here. So many to choose from.
Hello, Theo. No, she's looking at...
She's looking at a dating app. Straight Bay.
Yes.
She's mooning about a match that seems to be the perfect fit. And Daisy's like, oh, that's brilliant. How great. But you should treat him mean to keep him keen, etc., etc. Daisy and Christina are chatting about their plan in the booth, and it turns out that Dom is them.
Yes, Dom is the man, isn't it?
Super handsome Dom.
Yes.
The wonderful hunk of a catch.
I don't think it must have taken them too much thought to come up with that. They're like, right, this is a story about Tom and everything that happened to Tom. What's another man's name? Dom. Yeah, that'll do. It's only one letter off. She's going to be feeling so silly when she realises.
What an idiot. So
we almost had Dom Tom as a storyline title for this.
Oh.
But the Jenny Connors is better.
Jenny's telling Dom that she's got 60 grand and she's going to buy the pub of her dreams and boasting and bigging herself up. But Christina's just like, this is brilliant.
Yeah, this is she's falling straight into their trap in the most
embarrassing way.
Yeah.
Jenny plays Daisy and Christina this message she's recorded for Dom, asking him out for crazy golf.
Yeah, kind of embarrassedly.
And she's like, oh. And then she gets this massive fancy delivery of flowers, and they're from Dom to her, and she's like, oh. What are they up to?
What? So what? Yeah, what is the plan here? Is it just?
Are they going to make her? I don't know. How are they going to get her to give? How are they going to get Jenny to give Dom the money?
I don't know. Are they just wanting to make her look stupid? and they're going to make her go on a date somewhere, and then she feels like she's stood up. It doesn't end with them getting the money, does it?
I don't know.
And I can't imagine that, Jenny's going to be so stupid that without meeting someone, she's going to be like, yes, of course, I'll transfer you £60,000. Or is it just that, how entitled to the money was she?
Well...
Not really. But at least now that Christina and Daisy have got hard evidence on their phones that Jenny has admitted to having the £60,000, I suppose.
But I'm so confused because she's doing what she's supposed to do. She's using that money to buy the pub. Yeah,
what I don't think they can do, or can they? Daisy can't dob Jenny into the police for stealing the money because she's just going to implicate herself in this.
The only person who's got a claim to that money is Greg.
Yeah.
So and we don't know why Greg is not around. It's a baffling oversight that they haven't even mentioned him as knowing, like, Christina and Daisy, why don't they just tell him? And then immediately she'd only have the 60. Like, they're no more... Jenny's more entitled to the money than Christina and Daisy are.
I was just expecting, to be honest, a scene at the end of the episode where Christina gets a phone call. What's that? Tom's been involved in a horrific car accident.
Dom or Greg?
Dom. Oh no, sorry, Greg. Tom doesn't think so.
Dom and Greg were in a car together.
Maybe that's what they'll do to really upset Jenny, and is like, oh, he's the love of my life and I never even met him, and now he's in a car accident.
What's that? Greg's been in a car crash, but his name is Dom? This must be.
Did you get at all the impression from watching these scenes that Daisy isn't as happy and comfortable with this evil plan as Christina is?
Christina's definitely been waiting for this moment her whole life.
Yeah.
But Daisy is still
Jenny's her nemesis.
Yeah.
And she has got a perfect opportunity.
Imagine how thrilled you'd be to be given this opportunity to get one over on the
I can totally imagine
Christina.
Yeah, I can totally imagine Christina just lying there in bed or on a beach or something somewhere, fantasizing about all the different ways that she'd like to take Jenny to the cleaners, and now she's finally got the opportunity. She's loving it. But yeah, Daisy is kind of giving a few looks as if to say, oh, I don't think so. And maybe that's what's going to happen in the end, because I'd hate to think that this rift between Jenny and Daisy is completely irreparable. So maybe Daisy's going to stop Christina doing something just in the nick of time to really wipe Jenny out. And they'll forgive each other or something. I don't know.
They'll all go home for their tea.
Yeah, have their tea, exactly. Yeah, but although if Daisy does pull out of it, I think Christina will still carry on without her, won't she? She doesn't need Daisy.
Christina is a destructive force at this point.
Yeah,
she's a renegade.
Okay, let's go on to maybe the smaller stories then. So we've got this silly van thing that flared up again on Wednesday.
This is just limping to a conclusion that no one asked for.
None of these scenes were particularly inspiring or exciting in the slightest. I did quite like Gemma enjoying her massive TV, her 42-incher that gets brought round randomly by Mick and Lou on Wednesday's episode. And she's just like, oh, you're being so lovely. Why are you being so nice to me? I didn't really get what they were doing.
They're setting them up. I'm sure that this, it's going to turn out that it's nicked and she'll get in trouble.
Oh, yeah, I suppose it could be.
They could
say my TV was nicked. It could be that's their TV, and they say, we left our back door open, and now look, Gemma's got her TV. You gave it to me. Oh, no, we didn't.
It's bizarre because it feels like, don't we know that Mick... Or did we find out this week, or was it last week, that Mick is basically knows that Chesney knows that...
We've known that for ages.
No, but listen to what I'm saying. Mick's like, I'm going to make him pay because he's the guy and he doesn't even realise.
Yeah.
I'm going to make him realise and make it awkward and get revenge.
Oh, that's what happens this week, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
For what purpose? Because he's already got money off of him. He's already got him... taking him to court.
He's just being really petty.
But you see, why is Lou going along with it? Because one of the things that Lou said when they first came in was, please don't spoil this for me. I like these people and I want them to be my friends.
Yeah, I'm not getting that from Lou whatsoever. She seems to have decided, let's just make her just as bad as him.
Yeah.
I still think that, especially Farrell, is really great in the role. And I like her despite...
Coronation Street character.
Yeah, I like her despite how the poor company that she keeps. I'm not. I don't think I'm gonna like Mick.
You know, they say you sleep with dogs, you get fleas.
Anyway, so Ronnie overhears Gemma. This is on Wednesday again, and Chesney talking about how sound the McCarleys are in the cafe.
Michaelis. I hate this name.
I hate it.
I
as well.
genuinely
I just don't
hate
know
this
how
name.
to say
It doesn't roll off the tongue at all. It's not. I'm sorry if anyone listening who has this surname, but it just sounds made up. It sounds like something out of a vampire novel for teenagers.
Ronnie says, "Watch out, they're dangerous," because this is obviously he's going through the
he's mad.
Similar.
Well, at this point, I thought he was on the toilet.
Who?
Ronnie.
What are you talking about? Oh yeah, it was 24-hour bug.
I'm starting to think he just doesn't like babies.
Maybe it was just something that he had at the cafe. So Mick's talking to Ches later about this dash cam, because this all comes out after Ronnie slashes the tyres. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I got this after some idiot put sugar in my petrol tank a few months back. And Chesney's like, uh-oh. So Chesney at this stage now knows who Mick is, but he doesn't know that Mick knows
who he is.
Who he is. I can see in the writer's room them thinking, oh, this could be really exciting and clever, and it's a bit of cat and mouse.
Well, it's a bit of a caper, isn't it?
This is a caper of a story.
But it's taking too long.
It's far too long.
Given too much time to.
When was it? November, December that the van first appeared?
No, but
this should have been over and done within weeks.
Stories like this do not need room to breathe, because then we start to think about how stupid it is. I'm perfectly happy to get swept along with stupid capers any day of the week on Coronation Street, except when it's not on. But but this one, it's just taking too long.
Yeah.
It makes you stop. No time for thinking.
Weeks and weeks have passed with who knows what Mick and Lou are getting up to. And now they decided, anyway, time to move on to stage 3 of our plan, because the camera's pointing at us this week. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So Ches comes home later and starts rooting around in his drawer. He says to Gemma, I reckon that the van man from back last year is actually Mick, but I don't think Mick knows about it yet. And he's rooting around in this drawer for paperwork about the court case, and he sees that the name of the victim in his sugaring is called Mark Michaelis, who is apparently Mick's real name. So that's the big revelation there on Wednesday. That shows how exciting this plot is, that Mick's name is actually Mark.
I guess it
Mick
always was a bit of a stupid thing to imagine a family going, what should we call our baby Mr. Michaelis? Well, Mrs. Michaelis, we should call it Michael.
You do get it though, and to me it feels like an ultimate chav move. Sorry to anyone who's called John.
What are you talking about?
John Johnson or Stephen Stevenson out there.
No, that's not a chav move.
I don't know. It just. I don't know.
There's no excuse for doing it to a baby boy. There are many unfortunate women who've been saddled with a horrible surname that goes very badly with their first name. But when it comes to boys, there should be no excuse.
Yeah, no. I think the name Mick Michaelis does suit the character very well. He looks like that to me. Nobody's going to be calling him Mark now, are they? But I don't think we're expected to. I think we're supposed to go along with his nickname.
Do you think the reason he's just called Michaelis is because there's no one else called that? You know what I mean? Because they've got rules, haven't they, about you can't have anyone who's called that in a certain radius.
Life. Exactly. That's why Phelan, as we called Pat Phelan, and not, what was it, John Phelan?
Patrick?
Tom Phelan?
No.
Anyway, Friday rolls round and Chesney's got a text from Mick inviting him out later, and he's like, oh my gosh, the dramas, what am I going to do? They just go to the pub and have a drink, and Mick's really bigging Chesney up, isn't he, about saying what a top bloke he is, and he's like, oh yeah, and I bet... This was a little clunkily done as well. I tell you, you're such a nice guy, Chesney. I bet you're the kind of guy who owns up when they've made a mistake.
Is this supposed to be that, like, just Mick is so feeble-minded that he couldn't think of a cleverer way to put that?
I don't think
so.
But
it just makes the writers look.
He's supposed to be that he's being a bit cunning here.
I'll say this week I found the plots were quite heavy-handed. Like the script, I mean, like some of the dialogue. Like the nurses being like, gosh, I wish I could help, but we've got no agency staff.
Yeah.
We're so busy.
Yeah, it was a little bit...
Just too bluntly explaining exactly what's happening.
He goes home, says Chesney. Him and Gemma have got an evening of snuggles and ice road truckers lined up for them. But oh no, the Michaelis barge in round the back with some cans of lager, turn the telly up, and... Yeah, well, they're best
This
mates, aren't
this was
they?
what confused me, because they were coming in like they knew that they were annoying them, but they didn't know that they had plans, did they?
No.
And also, how, like, that's incredibly self-aware for two people that seem like they don't have any self-awareness to know that they're annoying.
I don't know. Nobody's interested in this, are
Not
they?
really. It's a shame, because I thought these two characters had a lot of potential when they first came in.
Yeah, I did as well. I really, really thought that they did. And then I went sour on Mick, and I was still holding out hope for Lou, but I think it's the dragging out of it too long. That's my main problem with it. Nobody cares. Sorry. But what I do care about is the Todd storyline. It was only one day this week. It was only on Thursday's episode, wasn't it? Yeah, but it was great and definitely mysterious, because it feels like since the last time that Todd and Theo
matched with Theo on Gay Bay.
Yeah, things have progressed since then. So do you want to go through this story?
Yeah, so Julie wants to go on a fancy train ride, but Todd's getting himself distracted by his phone. So he's clearly got a date plan, because he's looking in the mirror.
I'm loving how eager Todd is being. He's full of the joys of spring, isn't he? He's like an excitable puppy, because I think he's
been alone for so long.
He has, but you hear about him going out on dates. It's not like Sean, who is like perennially single. Todd, I think, does get a bit of action every now and then, but I think he's just so thrilled because of Theo being so hunky. Yeah. I think that's the only thing I can think about it.
So handsome.
He's really, really fallen for him hard, hasn't he? And I think the fact that this guy has got a bit of danger to him, and like he's got to work at him.
He could.
He's playing hard to get.
Head.
Yeah. It's that mirror scene Gareth Pierce played excellently, and it was totally unnecessary as a scene as well. It could have just started with Todd opening the door to Theo out the back, but no, we got to enjoy 10 seconds of him preening himself and squirting himself all over with cologne. It was fab.
He answers the door. Theo's there. Looks like they've had a bit of off-screen developments, and they've come to the conclusion that
Theo is gay,
actually, and he doesn't mind having a date with Todd as long as it's very secret.
I don't often mind when things happen off screen, but I do feel a bit cheated.
I was just a bit wrong-footed, because I was like, oh, there's no reason that they didn't show us this. It didn't add intrigue or anything.
No,
I think it was obvious what happened, and I do complain sometimes when they spell things out a bit, but obviously I need it because I was like, huh? Right, anyway, they have a beer together. Theo looks at a picture of Jason. He's like, oh, Mr. Gay Weatherfield.
Yeah, that's interesting.
He and Todd share a bit of flirty banter, and then before long, they're having a kiss. And then
very steamy stuff.
Retire to the boudoir. Unnecessarily.
It was proper raunchy, and it's not necessarily the stuff that you and I often enjoy, is it? But
are you saying you enjoyed this one in particular?
No, I'm not.
It sounded like you were winding up for.
I was just pleased to have a story that wasn't miserable. This had characters genuinely smiling at each other, and they weren't trying to con each other. They weren't.
Well, one of them's pretending he's not gay.
I know, but it was just a real moment of levity.
Wow.
And Julie's involvement in it as well is always going to help add to that. That's what I enjoyed about this.
So Theo is like, that was really nice, but I've got to go now because this is quite complicated and my family don't know I'm gay.
It wasn't nice. It was earth-shattering.
This was earth-shattering.
Yeah.
But I've got to leave because nobody knows I'm gay.
I think it's they don't know he's gay and
they don't approve of it.
They don't approve of it. You get the impression that you said that maybe is Granny Spellman's long lost grandson, isn't he? But,
so it's like you need to keep this on the down low. I don't want anyone to know at all.
So how?
And Todd says okay, and Theo says in that case I could stay a bit longer.
How much do you believe Theo here?
About what? That he's pretending not to be gay?
No, it's not that he. Has he got a wife?
Yeah.
Has he got a girlfriend?
I think he
has, hasn't he?
Which I don't like that. I don't like cheating.
You don't like cheating, but I think that Theo's being made out to be a nice guy.
And again, I'm going to say this: Corrie's got. Is he gay or is he bisexual?
Yeah, exactly.
Coronation Street.
Well, he's not on bi
bay, is he? Bi bay. Coronation Street's got a very bad history of not like saying characters are bisexual. And I understand, and people have said, I don't want that label. Maybe that's what you would call me, but I don't call myself that.
Yeah.
I don't identify with that label. But somebody in the history of Coronation Street who could be called bisexual, one of them at least has got to one day say, please, for the bisexual people that watch this show, can they not have one person go, yeah, I am bisexual?
There's been a few.
Ever?
Paula
Really?
Martin and little bit.
Has anyone ever said that?
I think so. But
There's been loads of
odd.
characters you
it
could define.
Not
You could define a lot of people as bisexual, but they don't. And it's only because it's never happened. If there was one or two that had said it, it wouldn't have this bee in my bonnet about it. But it's because every single character is like, oh no.
Nina and Asher are both kind of a bit #no labels, aren't they?
That's fine. But there should be at least one person who is fine with it, because
Labelled
there
and
are
proud.
people in real life that don't have there's nothing wrong with being bisexual.
No. So it's the last time we saw Theo. I'm just trying to remember. He got quite angry at the accusation that he was gay, and it's just funny that he was so not at all caring about the fact that Todd knew. I really would like to have seen the moment when Todd confronted him and said, I found you, what are you going to do about this then?
That really would have been... It would have made... filled in a lot of blanks that I'm still a bit confused over, because obviously I know what's happened. The question is how. It
feels like, as somebody who is trying to hide his sexuality, he's actually very flirty and out there, and it seemed very comfortable in Todd's company and happy to be dragged up to bed and happy to put this topless picture of himself on Gay Bay.
Yeah, because hang on a minute. I mean, it's not like he just met Todd and he's like, look, you've stirred feelings within me. I've been trying to repress them because I'm married or I'm repressed and I don't want to be gay. He's actively going out and looking for people to sleep with. Yeah,
there could have been, like, last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? I don't remember, last week. It could have been that he was in denial about it.
Yeah. Which is what I thought, but he's not, is he? It's like, look at this, look at this.
He's hiding. Look at
my abs.
He has got a secret bird on the go, I tell you.
Well, I think the bird's not secret.
No, yeah, you're right. This is his double life. I wonder what Todd would think about that. Like, is he
Todd will be upset.
But
Todd doesn't want to be somebody's dirty little secret.
I don't know. I think he might find it a little bit exciting.
Oh, I don't know.
But I think he would still try and convince Theo to dump her.
Well, he's got his own history of having a relationship with a woman and denying that he was gay, and he'll probably say,
"Yeah, actually,
Theo, you'd be so much happier if you just admitted that you were gay."
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This could 100% be an opportunity for him to talk about when he went out with Sarah.
But the question is, would Todd still be with Sarah if their baby had survived?
I'd probably not at this point.
No, but because he's in soap. But does Theo have a baby? Does Theo have children? And he's like, I can't break my family up.
Yeah, I wonder.
Because I just want, and also, is he a sort of guy who he doesn't really have any romantic aspirations?
He just fancies a quick
He just
bunk up.
likes sleeping with men.
Yeah, maybe.
And he prefers to...
I hope... I mean, the fact that this came in on a Friday makes me think that we're going to get a good chunk of it.
A good scene to on Monday.
on throughout next week.
This just feels very... I feel intrusive even talking about all of this. This is far too much that I want to know about somebody's. I know.
I know you're right. Actually, it does sound. I don't want to know
about anything.
I'm just really thrilled that Todd's got a storyline. To be honest, that's my main focus here, and I like the idea that he's getting a guy after all this time. And I know he's been a bit deceitful in the past, and he's not always been a goodie. But I like the idea of him settling down with somebody.
I wonder if he's still got his cheeky chappy persona. Is Todd still a rapscallion and a nasty? No, but will he turn on Theo?
Maybe,
because he's been very vengeful and naughty. Get on the wrong side of Todd. I mean, he's had rampage. He teamed up with Pat Phelan. He was naughty.
Has
that all gone?
I think that Gareth's Todd hasn't been as
no way
prone to the dark side as Bruno's Todd was. But I'm trying to think, what happened with the whole 3-way love triangle of Todd, Paul and Billy? I'm sure that Todd was a bit manipulative there, but not in the same way as Bruno's
Theo
Todd could be.
May have bitten off more than he can chew.
I know Todd comes across as quite like
Todd's being
slight
very
and innocent, and he's really being submissive.
Oh, Theo, butter wouldn't melt in my mouth.
But
you watch your back, Theo, because if you make Todd feel bad about himself, he's gonna cut you to pieces.
Well, never mind Todd. He's going to have Eileen clomping around his house and giving his or just going over to Victoria's Court and giving the scaffold a shake.
And then chuck him in a coffin and bury him. So Theo's been convinced to stay, even though he's worried about being outed. Todd says, do you want to go on a second date maybe one time? And Theo's like, yeah, blah, 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 start kissing again. And then the family arrives, so he runs out.
He does a bit of a Cinderella act, doesn't he?
He does. He leaves his jacket behind.
Yes.
And so Todd kind of hides it. And then Theo texts him going, I need my jacket, come bring it round. So he gives it to him and he's quite mad. Theo gets mad about and scared and put off. Yes, because he's like, Todd says, why did you run off?
Yeah.
And Theo says, look, I'm not ready for this. I give up now. You're good. You're top bloke and everything, but I'm not ready to... Why are you on gay bay then?
I think that you can maybe experiment with a life that you wish that you'd taken this turn and gone down this straight away rather than...
Because I get the impression, to me, it feels as though he's a bit of a smooth operator.
Do you think Todd's not his first?
I wonder if he's just like, I don't want any strings. Like, you're a really nice bloke, but I literally don't care.
It felt like the scarpering was I've nearly been caught here.
Yeah, but that's part of it. I definitely don't want anyone to find out that
nearly caught before.
I don't want anyone to find out I'm gay, but I'm also not interested in a relationship. So
he'll be back next week, won't he?
And anyway, Julie had a lovely time.
Julie loved her little train ride, didn't she? Yeah, that's another one to tick off the bucket list.
Yeah.
Chase and Donovan, we were a tiny bit on this Betsy story, and I pretty much covered it earlier, didn't I? Basically, it's just Betsy saying, I forgive you, Mum.
On Monday.
Sorry, I flew off the handle. That was
Nina makes her see. Nina and Betsy have got this nice little friendship that's starting to bubble up, which was born of shared trauma.
I thought it was born of the fact that they've got no idea what to do with Nina on the show at the moment. I think, I don't know, pair up with Betsy, maybe.
She came in strong with those wooden spoons, and what's she done since?
You're obsessed with Nina's
Fallen
wooden
in a pond
spoons.
and gone bat watching. So she tries to, Nina's the one who says you should forgive Carla, and she does.
She does. That was that story for this week. It was a swallow light week on Corrie this week, wasn't it? And we got a little bit of Cassie and Steve on Monday's episode as well. Evelyn's back again. And I think my prediction for the year that she was going to be in fewer than 40 episodes in total, Evelyn,
I think they're trying to prove you wrong straight off the bat.
I'm very happy to be proven wrong here. I'll take an Evelyn in an episode any day of the week. And anyway, Cassie talks to Evelyn and gets some sage advice about... what did she say? Don't
lower your standards.
No, she says you only accept things that I didn't write it down. I wasn't really...
You teach people what's acceptable by what you accept.
Yeah, which is basically just boils down to... she goes round...
Don't be a tramp.
Yeah. She goes round to see Steve and says we were never meant to be. They have a bit of a flirty banter together and she says,
what did he say to her? So he had a go at her, did he? And she was upset, and then Evelyn's like, don't stand for it. And then she goes, I'm not standing for it. And he says, oh.
I don't remember what happened.
We're never meant to be.
Nothing really happened.
And then Evelyn sees Steve in the pub and says, stay away from her. Don't even breathe near her, because if you do, I'll be the last bit of breathing you ever do.
Yeah. Filled up a bit of
Good
time,
job.
didn't it? Filled up 5 minutes of this week. Right, so how did we find this week's Coronation Street? What's our character of the week? What is our score?
Now I gave this mostly bog standard, didn't I? This week
possibly,
it was fairly...
I think I did. I don't think I gave any bang-ins this week. It was the misery. It was the relentless misery this week that really got me, and the sometimes clunkily done dialogue.
I wanted the Dee-Dee story to be a bit more impactful than I think it was, because I think it was a bit clumsy. I don't think that... I don't know...
Yeah, it's an important story to tell,
really
but they just didn't stick the landing completely.
Shanique did a fantastic job, so much,
yeah.
and so did all the Baileys, and obviously I think Alia and Sarah backing her up. And I think there's more to come there. I think
that Aggie didn't do a good job though, did she?
Aggie's crap.
Yeah, didn't even do a video call. At least when she was living with Auntie Corona, she would give video calls to her. She's like, no,
forget
it.
it.
Sorry, I interrupted you. What did you say?
I think I enjoyed Christina coming back. That was really good. I'm just really over any scene in a hospital now. 47% of Thursday's episode being in a hospital.
Wednesdays.
Was it Wednesday or was it Thursday?
It was Wednesday.
I mean, that was just random. I didn't pick that because I thought it had more or less.
It's funny because I've been thinking in the last few weeks, like, we're getting lots of police scenes at the moment. We've not seen many hospital scenes recently, and no, there they come again. You've got to have one or the other.
I'd rather have police scenes than hospital scenes.
I don't know,
but I think that they fit less in with the show.
I just need them.
What do you think?
I don't know.
And also the prison scenes I'm over as well.
Yeah.
So I can't really give this week too high of a score, even though there were some elements that I thought were great.
I'm giving it 3 farts and a left out of 5. I think
I'm giving it 3 Wordle Doos.
What was that?
I can't remember. Somebody said something and it sounded exactly like Wordle Do.
You got me to write down Wordle Do, didn't you? Yeah. I don't know what it was.
Character 3 of the week. Wordle Doos.
Character of
Dee-Dee.
Lassaman.
Dee-Dee.
Probably was. It probably was. Christina was pretty great. I think that maybe I will go with Christina. Maybe I will. I mean, as I said, Dee-Dee and Shanique were both excellent, but I just really enjoyed seeing scheming Christina, and she didn't get much chance to be character of the week. So I think I'll go for her. Actually, there we go. That's the end of Street Talk.